Being after 7 o'clock, we will call the November 13th meeting, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And next thing is approval of minutes. Did anybody read them?
Yes, I did. I reviewed the minutes for the meeting October 23rd, 2024, and I move that we approve those minutes as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. All right, COC 242-1810, Osgood Pond Dam.
Commission will recall this order was issued in October of 2021. It governed removal, cutting of trees, leaving the stumps, painting them with sealant for retarding sprouting, and removal of the shrub layer. There were 2 drainage outlets on the downstream side of the berm that received new riprap aprons. The work was done in July of this year and at this point, the site is stable, seed mix is taken, erosion control blanketing was installed, and, overall, the work is complete and in compliance. And at this point, GZA will step in as the project engineer and do the next phase of evaluation of the dam. So if the commission has specific questions, and have that it. Project engineer is here if you have specific questions.
Is there any questions?
No, I don't. I mean, well, actually, just one question. So if I recall that this is just the first project of many related to this, so yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any questions on this phase.
Yeah, about the keeping the growth mode over their sewer force main, is that something within their control, the abutters control, or does Sutton Pond Condo Association have to do that?
I think it's on Sutton Pond Condo land where the seed mix is
Yeah.
taking, as opposed to just like a grassy grass, but
Is there any issue, as far as you can see, with mowing that, if it
I
needs
don't
to
see
be?
an issue if
Okay.
they wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, it was part of the project, but it seems like it's up to the 2 parties to work it out among
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm all set.
Jack?
I have probably 3 points. First is that where this is a dam, our standard order of conditions where you would prohibit certain activities, in perpetuity, where this one requires maintenance, particularly mowing of that face and maintaining, the scrub growth, down to a stump level. That's going to be an ongoing and perpetual condition that they have to do. And I was wondering if there's maybe an amendment that we should consider, because I'm not sure what the condition said, if it was that once the project was done, they can do no more. So let's contemplate that as we're considering it. The other 2 points I wanted to make was that we had a visit at last meeting where there was some damage done to a private property, and part of that is a tree that I think hit a condensing unit, air conditioning condensing unit, or did some other damage at any rate. But I'm also seeing that there is in fact one tree that they cut down that landed in the wetland and stayed in the wetland, which was prohibited. So that has to come out. They're not in compliance with that,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
And the last thing is, no good deed goes unpunished. I think what we did was try to recognize a level of courtesy, and therefore we conditioned it that the parties coordinate and communicate with regards to the project. And we did that, I think I did that, and I regret doing so now, but I think I did that in good faith, expecting that there to be some open lines of communication, and clearly there wasn't. Not that it poisons their approval, but they certainly were not in compliance with that order. I think the request for the certificate of compliance should state that they didn't do that. So I don't believe the certification is 100% accurate, and I want that, stated in there that they failed to communicate with the abutters. And they can probably explain in the letter why that's the case. So I think the tree coming out is very important, and I think we probably want to revisit the language on, maintenance of that, any of that stone, any of that face of the embankment of the dam itself, whether it's resource area or not,
Right.
because that's just simply mostly a measurement. But in this instance, they're going to be obligated to maintain that. Part of the reason they were here doing this in haste is because it wasn't being maintained for decades. So I want to make sure that we're not issuing order conditions, certificate of compliance that says that any perpetual maintenance is not allowed. I think we might want to revisit that and perhaps amend that before we issue the certificate. So I'm not sure if we have answers on all of those, but I think at the very least, the tree's non-compliant, so either they can table it, we can table it, or they can withdraw the request, or we can deny it. Really, those are the choices that I think I have in front of me.
Okay.
I'm all set.
Okay, so we can't condition the removal of the tree for the COC? Because this is only phase 1 of 4.
This is a tree that they dropped and it fell in the wetland. In the orders and conditions say thou shalt not. So they have to take it out.
Right, but can we condition that and close it out at the same time? Instead of having wait, because it's another month.
I think we should go around and see what, I think the certification letter, in my opinion, I want them to say that they failed to communicate or to whatever extent that they feel that they did. State that within their certificate, because we had testimony at length at the last meeting that it sounded to me that they did not fully comply with the condition. And the sad truth is I don't believe we could have enforced it one way or another, but nonetheless, it's a condition.
Yeah.
The tree's important, and there's still more work. I mean, I don't have the order condition in front of me, so I do want to see what the perpetual conditions for maintenance is.
Okay. Fine. Brad?
I want the tree going as well. I hate for it to hold us up for another month.
Okay.
Hope we can find some vehicle to let the next phase begin.
Okay. So it seems a general consensus that they want to continue it until the tree is removed.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Lim Ho Tiv. I'm a project engineer at Goldsmith Press and Ringwell. I'm here tonight as a representative for the Sun Pond condominium. I watched the previous meeting. I was hoping we can leave out a lot of the items that were brought up because similar to the commission members, I generally feel that most of the concerns that were brought up were legal matters that that are outside the purview of what we're trying to file for here. I'll go through the concern as mentioned by Ms. Lynch. Condition number 49 regarding the tree removal. You're 100% correct. That tree should not have been left there. Generally and typically, we get asked by commission members as well as CONCOM agent in other communities to leave felled trees within the wetland area because they act as very good habitat as well as shelter for animals. Understandably, the language of the order is what it is. We'll have the contractor take it out. I do appreciate the comment about removing the tree, having it as condition for approval. Generally speaking, we are in this long phase, phases of work that's going to happen on this dam. I think it does make sense if we can have the approval, have the tree removed prior to filing for the next notice of intent to continue the next phase. That makes sense too, but if you want to continue the meeting just to have that tree removed first, that's not a problem either. regarding number 50, in terms of the notification, really, we generally believe that we met the criteria for the order per that condition to provide a status report. As mentioned during the last meeting, Dan Gallant from T Ford had met with the abutter. Be it was a short meeting, but he did go through the means and method and the general schedule breakdown of what's going to happen. And not privy to us at the time, we have confirmation email from the lawyers for Sutton Pond condominium, reaching out to the lawyer from the abutter 5 days prior to the work beginning. I provided a copy to Amy just now. Like I said, that information was not privy to us during the construction phase, just because, the lawyer was adamant to try to keep us out of legal matters, given the history between the two parties. But again, communication was done via the lawyers per Amy's request, and as a courtesy, we asked Dan to meet with the abutters to go over, his work schedule, means and method, and all that. Again, I feel like we meet that condition, but please let us know otherwise. I do want to talk a little bit about the ongoing maintenance. I think Mr. Lynch brought it up during the last meeting that, a typical earthen embankment for a dam, you do require, regular mowing and maintenance of the vegetation. That is correct. Unfortunately, that cannot be performed, due to the amount of stumps on the dam itself currently. So, which is why we're going into the next phase of, taking a look at the stability of the dam itself, having GZA come out and making the assessment of, where we need to do compaction, when they may provide more fill, and then start the process of removing the stumps. It's a long process. We're in the middle of it, and we're not trying to get away with anything here. I do want to bring up one condition, and that is condition number 69. This condition here states that after the initial 2 months of weekly erosion monitoring report, it would get reduced down to a 1 month period, or whenever you have a storm event that has 2 inches of rain within 24 hours. GZA is currently doing a quarterly report, or whenever there's a rain event that has 2 inches within 48 hours of rain. This condition that GZA is currently following was reduced from a 1 month per inspection, approved by the Office of Dam Safety. It was issued at a time when, the dam overtopped. They fixed the overtopping event and has been doing quarterly monitoring and reporting ever since. Generally, I think this will eventually tie into the maintenance that will have to occur on the dam on most likely a quarterly basis. Mowing of the seed on the dam itself, as well as checking the general conditions of the dam. I think it makes sense for all these conditions to be wrapped into one for the next NOI to occur for the next phase. But should the commission feel that that is conditioned to be modified under this current order, so be it.
So let me take the maintenance question, because I think that's the one that's kind of abstract, that's kind of hanging out there. If our order conditions follows a boilerplate, excuse me, I didn't bring my water tonight, follows our typical boilerplate, we typically prohibit certain activities within resource areas. Where in this instance, we don't want to prohibit that. So I would hate to close it out and say they're in compliance, especially if we do want them to, in fact, continue to mow this thing, because I certainly don't know the timeliness of when Office of Dam Safety is going to push the next phase along. So I want this condition to kind of stand on its own. It's a perpetual condition that you shall maintain it and not prohibit it. So my recollection is we would typically, our standard boilerplate would be a prohibition. And if that's the case, I think we should amend that.
So ongoing conditions talk about just the fact the 25-foot no disturb zone and the 50-foot no construction zone is established, that's boilerplate. Discharge of fuel or spillage of pollutants is prohibited. Prohibition of underground fuels. Limitations on the use of fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, that's standard. And then finally.
Prohibition of that?
What's that?
You said prohibition of
Right.
that. So
Of-
we should not prohibit that. In the preservation of the no disturb, 25 no disturb, there are areas of this dam that are within the 25
Okay.
that they in fact do in fact need to mow and maintain on a regular
Okay.
basis. So those are the two things that I'm talking about.
Okay. Gotcha.
We shouldn't prohibit herbicides, we should maybe rephrase that in such a way as that, should it be necessary to apply that for vegetation management of the face of the dam, that they bring that in, prior to doing the work. So that's one. And two is to come up with a different way of saying, maybe we say that the 25-foot no disturb zone has been established, except that maintenance associated with control of vegetation and mowing, including mowing and cutting back of small woody material within the 25 no disturb zone along the face of the dam is allowed.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
And that would be what that activity is going to need to be done under this order and probably future orders as well.
Right.
But if there's some lengthy year or two, 1 year period where this
yeah,
doesn't go to phase two,
You
at
can
least
have-
allows them to do it, not only allows them, but they're obligated to do it, and it gives them the permission to do that
Gotcha.
with this commission.
okay,
That's my concern.
okay, that makes sense.
So if I'm hearing this right, we got two things that will prevent us from granting a COC tonight. Two action items, that first being removal of the cut tree from the wetland area. And number two is, sounds like an amendment to the order of conditions associated with the maintenance issues that Joe just described. Is there anything else?
Just a modification versus an amendment.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Amendment requires an advertisement.
Well said.
Amending the language, modifying the language.
I just have a question. What does phase two entail?
To be honest with you, I have not seen the scope of and the proposed work. Right now, GZA is currently working with the Office of Dam Safety to draft up the next steps. I believe Sutton Pond's representative are currently taking a look at that plan at the moment. I'm not, I haven't taken a look at the information, but, I'm sure we'll get it once it gets closer to a final draft.
Yeah, 'cause it's been so long, I don't remember. It was 4 phases, I think, right? Wasn't it 4 phases?
Something
It was
multiple.
many,
phases.
many phases.
Yeah,
And-
probably four.
And they at first came in looking to do that all in one comprehensive filing in one comprehensive order of conditions where we knew it was gonna be a protracted period and those, the expirations and of timetables were just gonna,
Yeah.
prevent that from happening. So they did bring it to phases for us.
I do have one question. What are we delaying if we don't issue an order of conditions today? What gets held up? Anything? Are we gonna see an NOI in the December meeting for phase two?
We do have another filing later on tonight, don't we?
That
Yeah.
is for an RDA for the repaving work.
So-
To kind of answer your question, Bradley, absolutely nothing. Obviously, the condominium folks generally would like to close this permit out, just so that we don't have something just kind of weighing on their head. Obviously, they're working with GZA as well as the Office of Dam Safety, so they're trying to just close out one permit, let's take a look at the next one. But obviously, nothing's really pushing them to it.
I don't want to hold out the rehabilitation of the dam because of a tree in the lake.
Right.
But if it's not holding anything up, if it makes the rest of the commissioners happy to wait a month to get the tree out of the lake, I'm happy to condition it tonight. Everybody else is, but
Well, we got the condition about the grass cutting on
Yeah,
the slope.
yeah, so we'd
I
have,
think we can do that here tonight, and put that behind us, and
Agreed.
still consider the compliance.
Ah.
Yeah, we can make that amendment of the modification tonight, and still consider compliance. So that means if you're willing to, hold the issuance of the certificate in abeyance until such time as they, give evidence that the tree's been removed.
Yeah.
We could do it that way.
yeah, I don't hate that. Get it
Yeah,
off the
I-
plate.
That's what I think, moving forward, I think
And the very
That
first
way he
thing.
doesn't have to come back next month.
In the very first item I raised, I think I raised it for the reason that it was, hotly debated and discussed at the last meeting, albeit, one-sided. You have written documentation that you've now submitted to the record with regards to correspondence between attorneys and the fact that you you and the project had reached out and you feel that you complied with that. Now, I don't think anybody could ever say that you must reach an agreement. All you have, I think the order was to let the abutter know you were coming, you're going to be working in the area near their place of business, and that you were to work out the terms by which that wouldn't be disruptive. And if you feel that you conveyed that information and maybe not reached agreement, I think it's a different, that's a different story than not reaching out at all.
I think you're 100% right on the mark there. We never reached an agreement. That being said, the information that I just provided to Amy was not part of the formal submission. In reviewing the previous meeting's recording, I was hoping that, ultimately we can say that, yes, notification was done, but it wasn't done in a way that was appeasable to the abutters. We disagreed on that matter, but we do have email records from the lawyers reaching out to the lawyers of the abutters, stating exactly, when work is expected to start. And I believe the response back, probably about 10 days after. Amy, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have it in front of me. I believe the response back from the abutters lawyer is that, the abutters did not agree that this email notification suffice to meet the condition as listed. That's where we disagree.
I think when we did that, I don't think it was meant to be a part of a condition of an order. I mean, notifying an abutter is a courtesy.
And I believe,
It shouldn't have been written, how it was
no, I
written.
don't think it was written that was an absolute. I think the way it was written was very much to that point, was to let the abutter know that they were coming and that, the work that was being involved. And it was up to those parties to work it out. So we can't condition, and you shall work it out. No, we didn't go that far.
Okay.
So I believe that what we conditioned was unusual, it was fair, but in the same token, it wasn't absolute that they had to walk away with a complete 100% agreement of how the work was going to be done and what the disruption might be. It still remains to be a separate item between property owners perhaps, but not with this commission. So if we've got that documentation in the folder now, then I think I'm satisfied with that first point I raised.
Okay, so what we're saying is, we can approve the certificate under the thing that they agreed to, the grass cutting and the tree removal?
So let's wrestle with that language and get that language on the record. And they're gonna have to, the applicant's gonna have to record that.
Right. So technically, our regulations say that on your volition of modifying an order, we are to notify the applicant by certified mail that we are going to do that. Is this sufficient at a meeting? I'm just saying, I mean, we're,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind
I'm
of...
not trying to,
No,
but I'm just saying what,
I don't, but this...
I mean, if there's no problem with continuing to December 11th, I'll write Sutton Pond Condos a certified letter tomorrow stating that we intend to modify the order of conditions to allow for mowing maintenance and vegetation management on the slopes, and that the tree must be removed. And if they can get that done, I mean, we can take that vote at the next meeting for the modification, and they can verify that the tree was removed. We can issue
So where
at the
this is
next
a
meeting
modification, it's simply a notice
to the abutter.
To the abutter.
I'm sorry, no, to the applicant.
To the applicant.
There's-
And
It's not a
reposting
hearing.
and,
Nope,
and not reopening a
No.
public hearing, okay.
Nope.
All right. It's probably the cleanest way to do
yeah,
it.
Yeah, I think it should be done by the,
letter of the law,
yeah.
yeah. So,
So that means we're gonna continue now.
continue.
Okay. All right, motion to continue.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All
All right,
right.
so you got it, you know what you have to do now, right?
I'll get the tree removed, I'll wait for the letter from Amy, and then, once we verify the language, and then we remove the tree, I'll reach back to her.
And after that, I don't see an issue.
Awesome,
Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Next one, 242-1866, 104 Bonnie Lane.
Alrighty, this order was issued in April of 2023, and it governed the construction of an in-ground pool, grading, tree removal, a landscape retaining wall, pervious paver patio, and removal of existing fence, and resetting it within property boundaries, and reestablishing the 25-foot no disturb zone where the fence was. The patio layout was changed and administratively approved by the chairman. The pool patio was constructed in compliance and the joints are porous. Work is complete, erosion control has been removed, and markers have been installed. And I did a site visit and have no issues and recommend issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Okay, Horace, I'm sorry, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Jack?
No, I mean, this was approved with the waiver requests, correct?
Yes.
The 50-foot, the
Yes.
patio in the 50-foot and the flagstone walkway
Yeah.
in the vicinity of the 25. I'm not sure of that status, but as long as that was conditioned, I'm good to go.
Yes.
No question. No question. All set.
Motion?
Move that we grant the COC for 242-1866, 104 Bonnie Lane.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1721, 562 Boxford Street.
This order was issued in May of 2018, and it governed demolition of an existing house and construction of a new single-family dwelling, driveway, septic system, utilities, and associated site work within a 100-foot buffer zone to BBW, and part of that BBW contained an ephemeral pool. The existing house was located in the 50-foot no disturb zone to the pool, and the new house moved outside of that, but was partially in the 75-foot no-build zone. That was approved. Plantings were required, and a fieldstone wall was required along the 25-foot. Let's see. The order was amended to allow for construction of a front porch and walkway and stairs and associated retaining walls, rear landings, and stairs and walkway. Project is complete, and the project engineer has provided a certification letter. There's some minor deviations, but none that were concerning or problematic. Plantings have been installed for some time, and they're thriving, and that whole area is completely densely vegetated. Erosion controls have been removed, site's totally stable. Markers are in. Fieldstone wall is in, and I recommend issuance of a full COC with ongoing conditions.
Thank you. Marissa?
I don't have any questions.
I have no questions.
Joe?
There were 2 lots, correct? Very,
Not this one,
not this?
not this one. I think you're thinking of 500 Boxford. It was a house and it got split up,
Split up in very, very similar,
kind of similar.
okay. Because I don't remember, I was gonna say, I don't remember the crushed stone apron at the front of that. I
Right,
guess
that was a modification, but it is, it's out of the 50 in the outer reaches. Some of it's out of the buffer. That was going to be like lawn anyway. It was gonna be a pervious surface.
Okay, so why, do we have any problem with that ever becoming paved?
No.
And if that's the case, if we do have a problem, that's why it's crushed stone, should we make that a requirement prior to issue compliance? Because crushed stone is a pain in the neck, and nobody wants it in a driveway because it kicks and wanders and moves around, particularly in the wintertime, and breaks your shear pins and your snow blower, and
Right.
and this thing's gonna be paved pretty darn fast before you know it. So
Right.
if we have a problem with it being paved, we should say so.
Right. It wasn't meant ever to be paved, so it was meant to be lawn.
So now it's crushed stone, so if it were to be converted to asphalt in the future, do we have a problem with that?
Well, I think, yes, because it is partially in the buffer.
Yeah.
So our certificate of
So
compliance
I think the
can-
same thing is, we just can't issue a compliance with a stone without some sort of statement saying that it remains stone in perpetuity and shall not be paved.
Right.
It's a very specific condition.
You can put that into a certificate of compliance?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
That-
That's it.
Sean?
Learn something new every day, I'm all set.
Brad?
I'm all set as well.
Motion?
Well, I move that we grant the COC with that specific language in it for 242, 1721, 562 Boxford Street.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Next one is.
Oh, you are? Okay. Oh, that's right. You're up for the next one,
So
too.
again, back to back.
Same people, okay.
Nope, same guy.
242-1689, that's 1975, 1985, 1995, Salem Street.
Trying to pull up the as-built here. Be here somewhere. There it is. Alrighty, this order was issued in 2017. It can govern construction of 2 driveways that would servicing 3 houses. One was a shared driveway. Driveway exfiltration system, infiltration pond, and associated site work and grading within riverfront area to Boston Brook, located across the street, and 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and potential vernal pool, and isolated wetland on-site located to the north and west of 1975 Salem. The houses were completely out of jurisdiction. The project was regulated by the planning board under its land disturbance permit because it disturbed over an acre of land. Replanting was required as there was additional clearing within the riverfront that was not approved. Plantings were installed, like, I think probably 2.5, 3 years ago now. They're doing well. The certification letter mentions additional impervious surfaces, but those are related to the houses, which are out of jurisdiction. The driveway shoulder stone, top stone looks great, and really, right now, the only real maintenance is just fall cleanup, so that the leaves don't clog the stone, the crushed stone. The stone pond looks good, but the builder who actually lives in that subdivision states that it really hasn't ever seen water. They encountered very gravelly, sandy, stony soils out there, so it's just, its infiltration is, really good out there, so. I saw no outstanding issues to report, so I recommend issuing a full and complete COC with ongoing conditions.
Thank you. Marissa?
All set.
Jack?
Yeah, I have no issues.
Joe?
No questions.
Nothing here.
Brad?
That's it.
Motion.
That we, whether we grant the COC for 1689, 1975, 8595 Salem Street.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. You're all set. Thank you. Next one, 242-982, 49 Equestrian Drive.
Equestrian. Alrighty. Okay, this order was issued in October of 1999, and it governed construction of a new single-family house and associated appurtenances with a septic system. The driveway wetland crossing was already there at the time of the notice of intent for this particular lot. There was an area about 450 square feet that was temporarily disturbing BVW to install the line to the septic system leaching field from the house. And there was a special condition in the order that required the portion of that sewer pipe in the BVW to be sleeved. And I found monitoring reports that verified that this was done. Monitoring reports also verified revegetation of that sewer path within the wetland, and it's completely grown in right now. The engineer's certification letter notes deviations on the approved plan, which mainly relate to hardscape structures like patios and things like that, but all of that remained out of the 50-foot no-build zone. The recent enforcement order required a restoration area because of an unpermitted chicken coop, and that is on the as-built plan, so we know where it is. My site visit was routine, and I didn't find any real outstanding issues of concern. So, project wetland scientist is here if you have questions.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Jack?
No questions.
Joe?
No questions.
No, sir.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Now, the enforcement order still stays in place,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, the enforcement order stays. We have monitoring that governs the restoration area, so
Okay.
we'll keep that in place.
All right, no more questions? Motion?
That we grant the COC for 242, 982, 49 Equestrian Drive.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Small project, NACC 336, 55 Fuller Road.
Alrighty. Alright, so what are we doing? Which one is it? Fuller Road? Hope I have this. Okay, all right. This project entails rehabilitation of a driveway retaining wall, associated steps, a front walkway, and front entry steps to the house. Work at its closest point will be 55 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland and within lawn area and previously existing hardscape. The applicant is requesting review under Category L, which is Other, and all materials will be stored in the driveway and outside the buffer zone. So the picture I have up here right now shows wetland measurements and existing walkway, the driveway here, and that's, right here is the retaining wall that's starting to crumble. And so we have the proposal, which is rehabilitating that retaining wall, redoing these steps, and making the walkway a little bit more arched, and then rehabbing the front steps. So with the arch, it might shave off 3 feet from that 58 feet. So it's about 55 feet from the wetland at its closest point. I think the owner.
I'm the owner.
The owner's here.
Yep.
If you have questions.
If you have any questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
No questions for me either.
Your narrative was perfect. Exactly what we expected a small project to look like, is somebody tell us what they intend to do and how they're gonna do it.
Thank you.
And you nailed it. No questions.
That's my contractor who did it.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Amy, do you think this qualifies as a small project? And most importantly, well, I guess that's the first question, but this second link, bless you. How many conditions do you think we'll need, and do you have any erosion concerns?
I have no erosion concerns whatsoever because,
It doesn't rain, I know.
oh, well, no, because I mean, we can install some, but,
Sure, the retaining wall, a lot
but there was, right,
Yeah.
right. So when all the materials are down on the driveway, and then we have a retaining wall with, and then we just do some erosion control at the edge of the walkway work. I
ask.
just don't, yeah,
So you're comfortable with it?
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Brad?
We'll take a good project.
Motion.
I move that we grant this as a small project category L, and we do it with the following conditions. I guess that's going to be erosion controls and locations to be determined by the administrator.
Yep.
Anything else?
And then just, meeting with the contractor for that,
Yes?
and then post-construction
meeting
inspection.
And post-construction inspection.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll get that permit out probably next week, and
See you notify us.
I'll send it to you by email and mail.
Thank
Okay, thanks.
Next one, small project, 337-36 Autran Ave.
I'm gonna have to look for it. Hold on 1 second. Just trying to pull up the plan. Bear with me. There we go. Looking for that one. Alrighty, so this project entails demolition of an existing wood landing and stairs and construction of a 12 by 16 deck and new stairs that will be 9 by 4. Total square footage of 228. I met with the contractor on the site and took measurements. The deck will be 51 feet from the bank of the intermittent stream that is located off-property on Heritage Green condo property. 3 new footings at 3 or 4 feet deep will be dug by hand. Yard is really flat. There's a fence that protects you know, any work from the work to the wetland, so I don't really even feel like there's a need for erosion control, because it's 3 holes to be dug by hand, very little soils to manage. So this is a category, hold on a second. Just a minute. Category A.
That's a placement 300 feet or small?
Yes. Yep. Contractors here if you have questions.
Martha? Jack?
Is there a, is that wood shed within the 25-foot no disturb zone? There's a wood shed at the
Oh.
corner of the lot. Looks like it might be,
it might
depending on
be.
the scale.
It might be.
It's also
I
budding
didn't-
property.
I didn't measure it. Yeah, it's a little off property, I guess.
So is the fence.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no waiver request on the work proposed.
Right.
But that is looks like a violation of our bylaw.
Okay.
I'll just let it go down the line. Any other comments?
Yeah, and in these established older neighborhoods such as this, I guess I'd be a little more tolerant to know how long the shed's been there, and, you know, it looks, if I look at the dimensions, it's 8.2 by 9.8. So it is a structure under the definition of the building code, so it means it should comply with a no build. But again, if it's pre-existing and it's, how do we ever really figure that out, other than, forensic work? And I don't think that's the gist of what we have here. I think it's got bigger issues, and I think if we are going in one way or another, our decision on a small project should say we are not granting, any rights of trespass, of fences or other objects, that are shown on the plan that are not on site. Have you already gone to the building inspector with this? So he's satisfied with this just being a deck, and he's not somehow gonna look at the existing enclosed elevated porch, which was once an open porch, is enclosed? Is he gonna make you do additional foundation work on that you're not showing here?
No, this is just gonna be an open deck, 3 footings.
But attached to that previously enclosed deck that used to be there?
Yeah, no, we have no,
Yeah, that sliding door that's there,
yeah,
it has, no foundation under it. But I just don't want the building inspector to come back and say, and that's why I asked the question, if you've already gone that far with him, because if those foundations under there are inadequate to handle the deck, is he gonna make you fortify that foundation as well? And you should be showing that on this project. But it never came up in conversation. All right, so we're looking at just the deck.
yep.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Sean?
Concerning the deck, I'm okay with the deck. 51 feet's awfully close to the line, so I would certainly make sure you don't go within 50 feet, because that's gonna be a problem afterwards. But I do think the issue Jack brought up with having a violation out there isn't just something we can turn a blind eye to and allow it. I think it does take a little investigation.
Is it in the buffer? I can't tell.
That's in the buffer. I didn't measure for the 25.
Using relative scale, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it, the fence is even in violation.
Right, yes, and there's a lot of masonry patios, maybe not.
I'm sure the building inspector gets this, right? Gets it?
Yeah.
So if he doesn't say anything,
mean, we can issue a separate enforcement letter to have the shed moved.
It's on the same property, right?
Say that again?
It's on the same property, I mean, it's the same,
Well, the fence is a bigger violation than this shed.
what's that?
The fence is a bigger violation than the shed.
It is. The shed's, from what I can tell, that fence isn't on
No,
the applicant's property.
Right.
And that's where I was going with the older established neighborhood dialogue, is that, you know, Autran has been there an awful long time. These old houses built post-World War II for the returning veterans, way before wetland bylaw was ever thought about, when back in the day when if the brook was in your way, you dug it around and redirected it so you could build your house. The fact that this brook back there, we know the origin of this brook isn't really a brook, it's that dug ditch that runs from the corner of Mass Ave and Chickering Road and just simply moves water down, and it's been doing that for 50 years or so, and,
Yeah.
you know, that's how it came to be. But these yards were all well-established, you know, back in the 40s. You pretty much used your entire backyard. You
Right.
had lawn when you could, and as you got older, you stopped mowing, you know, some of it grew back with vegetation.
Right.
But, so I, you know, using words like violation, well, it's non-compliant with our bylaw. I can't say it's in violation. I don't know how long that shed's been there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think we just gotta take a look to see how long it's there. If it's been there for a year, then that's something I would have an issue with. If it's been there for 10 years, I probably don't have an issue with it.
It's a vinyl stockade fence, so I would say it's fairly.
Not that old.
Yeah.
Yeah, vinyl.
I was referring to the shed more than, because again, I don't know who owns that fence. I'm guessing, I guess it connects, so.
I'm looking at the surveyor's plans, let's just, you know, if that's the issue, we want to talk about it. If it is non-compliant, you know, what's the remedy? So, if it's 51 feet, assuming the brook is relatively parallel, but I guess I don't know that for certain, but it doesn't skew off in a great
No,
distance.
not horribly.
It's pretty straight.
Yeah.
And if it's 51 feet to the deck, and the deck is some distance north of the end of the driveway, and even if we were to move the shed to the end of the driveway, he's not gonna meet the 50.
Right.
So you know, either we're saying, I think we need to say, if it is in fact non-compliant, it needs to go. It needs to be made compliant. And, you know, you move in your front yard, but you just can't move it elsewhere on the site, because there is no space for it.
Right.
And I don't know if it was Autran, but I remember many years ago, we, had a number of, I don't know if it was issues, enforcement order filings in this area, which is a very, very tight area. And we had to try to navigate ourselves through those situations, and we did it deliberately and, consistently. So just want to try to do that here.
All right, so how do we go about this one?
Well, I would recommend continuing this so that we can look to see how long that shed has been there and
Okay.
the fencing too, I guess.
Real quickly, what's going underneath the deck?
Nothing.
Nothing? So not gonna pave it or anything? I know there's a walkout right there.
Nope.
Okay. Do you wanna make that a condition if they ever were to do anything? They gotta come back for it? I mean, we kind of allow patio in that area.
I mean, they're supposed to come back in front of us anytime they do something within the buffer zone. But if you think something calls out for mentioning it because it's so tempting or obvious, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So are we asking the applicant to provide the evidence, or are we gonna, are we
Yeah.
asking?
On the time constraints, can we approve the small project and issue an enforcement orders for the shed, so we don't, it's getting to be November, it's,
Yeah, I mean, we could probably do whatever we want, but historically, we don't.
no, but I'm just
Right.
based on the season. And it wouldn't interfere with his construction.
When are you looking to go into construction?
As soon as possible.
What's that?
Yes, when we were trying to start construction, I said as soon as possible.
So, just start kind of doing right now. I would support what you said. We could issue this one and then start an enforcement order. Or investigate, have Amy investigate.
Okay.
Sweet.
Would you be satisfied with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna make a motion to approve your deck, but we're also gonna give you an enforcement order to get rid of the shed. How old is the shed, do you know?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, if you wanna see if you can save the shed, you have to get some historical history on it and get it with Amy.
I can help with that.
So,
Okay.
if not, we're gonna issue an enforcement order that has to be removed.
Okay.
Now, the question is, how long do you wanna give him to move? He's gotta move, it's winter time's coming, so, what, do you wanna give him 30 days, 60 days?
I'm voting, I'm opposing this motion, so you guys give them what you want.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the next meeting is a month away, so that's 30 days or so. So we could issue a violation letter or however, or a enforcement order stating that the shed, if, I mean, I don't, depending on how long the shed's been there, like, or does it matter? I mean, if it was there before we adopted the regulations, you know, I don't know,
That was what?
1990?
There's no way that
I
gets,
speculate all the time, and I hate speculating. The reality is, if it's still there, and it hasn't rotted
Yeah,
with the crappy lumber that they sell
yeah,
for the past 30, 35 years, it would have been rotted.
Yeah.
It doesn't predate our bylaw. Our bylaw
Yeah.
has already
I
been there, so
gotcha. Yep.
you know, I don't think you're gonna find it compliant.
okay,
I don't think it can be.
okay. So either find a location outside the 50 if you can. I don't know if we can go like,
that's not gonna happen.
no, I mean, yeah.
Because you can't put it on the front yard.
So in an effort to remain consistent, have we normally not issued a permit when
There's an open violation
if there's
on
an
it?
enforcement
You know,
order?
you really can't.
Often.
Huh?
Pretty regularly,
Yeah, you really
you
can't.
deny a permit.
We don't do them if there's I think, an open violation. But what we do is, sometimes we will issue an order of conditions when there's a violation, and part of the order of conditions is that they fix that violation to get their certificate of compliance.
You can't do that on a small property.
On the small project. Okay, so,
Is that just an open enforcement order or a violation of a small project, you know, a violation that you see when the application comes before you?
yeah, but it's not enforceable to the small project.
So Sean
Yeah.
was one of the crafting fathers of the small project bylaw with other boards and commissions. And the whole intent were those things that are pretty straightforward to take the burden off the run-of-the-mill
And the money.
homeowner and the financial burden and the task burden of filing paperwork for the sake of paperwork. And, but if things were unique, if things were out of the ordinary, things were in violation, you know, it wasn't intended to be that vehicle. So
Maybe even be in the language. I'll try to look it up.
it might even be in the language.
Yeah, you can't,
All right, well, I wish to remain consistent, so I think I'm gonna go with Sean on this one.
So continuing it,
Yeah, I think we should.
continuing it?
Yep.
Yeah,
The
I
commission-
don't want to slow anything down, obviously, but, you know, we could have another filing in here just in front of us that's not on Archer Ave, and we could differently because it's not on Archer Ave. It's all got to be treated the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
So let me, while you're looking, you know, you are looking, while Sean's looking that up, let me offer this as an alternative. You've got an open deck with open air under it. You've got a deck which is 16 by 12, and you've got a shed, your client has a shed that's 9.5 by 8.5. Do what they did to the existing nook that was closed in, keep it open underneath, but, you know, close it to the weather. Do the same thing under this deck and eliminate the shed. And use it for your storage, and tell your client, when you come back for the next meeting, that's your answer, is that you're gonna give up the shed and put it underneath the new deck, which will be in compliance.
The only thing I would say about that is that,
Is the window in there?
no,
What?
this,
There's a door.
well, this deck is not gonna have, a bladder system, so things are gonna get wet underneath it,
Okay.
depending on what they're storing in that shed.
And there is a door to the basement.
I don't know, so,
Well, it is an open violation, so the shed's gonna move one way or the other. That seems to be the joint consensus. And I doubt very much that was there before the Wetland Protection Act. Unless they got a really good carpet, that's some really good wood.
And I made a criticism about the people who sell lumber. The reality, it's a forestry criticism. They're harvesting trees in an unsustainable way, and they just don't get strong enough and old enough to have tight
to
rings to make them last, so the wood rots.
Right.
And they're selling simply what the market harvests. And it's not any of the local lumber companies selling bad lumber. It's just what the industry is.
Right.
So we're spending too much time on this one. All right, so let's, we're gonna continue the small project. We really should do that. And we're gonna issue an enforcement on getting the shed out. So we'll continue to the next meeting. Hopefully you'll have good news for us that the shed is gone. All right, so we need a motion to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Next one, small project, NACC 338, 614 4th Street.
Alrighty. This project comes under a category G, which is pruning existing vegetation and planting native vegetation. Project involves removing invasive species that include buckthorn, bittersweet, honeysuckle, and crabapple. A couple of white pine saplings within a wooded areas that are along the edges of the lawn, and replant these areas with natives, and allow the existing natives to thrive better. The property is flanked by wetlands on 3 sides that contain vernal pools or potential vernal pools, but at its closest, work will be about 60 feet from the wetland at the rear of the property. So it will be outside the 50-foot no disturb zone to the vernal pool. Applicant is asking for category G approval. Applicant engaged a botanist, and his report is attached in your packet. And the applicant's narrative provides protocol for identification of the invasive species, removal techniques that includes hand removal or cutting and dabbing with herbicide for larger specimens that can't be ripped out. A list of potential native plantings and follow-up consultation with the botanist in the spring. The homeowner is here this evening if you have questions for her. But my measurements are on the screen, and it's to kind of start to control some of the invasives that are taking over those wooded areas that are surrounding the sides of the property.
Thank
No, I think this is a great project to remove invasives, so that's all.
I agree, no questions.
I'm flabbergasted how good of a project this is, and thank you for taking the initiative to bring it in. I mean, this is well thought out, and just logistically and administratively, these things have a very limited life, small projects, right? Start the project, end the project, but there's gonna be some sort of ongoing and, need to allow Amy to continue to do things. Is the expectation a small project every time, or do we wanna let this thing run its course to allow her to take this a little further than a year or two?
I suppose we could do that. I mean, the regulations I don't think the regulations say how long.
Maybe add a condition to assess survivability
Yeah,
in a year.
right. But I don't think the regulations say that, a small project approval can only last for a year. I think it's sort of
I think the logic would be,
conditions that we.
it shouldn't last any longer than an order of conditions.
Right,
Right, so, but if it's just a matter of throwing a sentence in that will allow continuing ongoing vegetation management in accordance with the same plan, and that prior, anything beyond 2 years, that Amy can back in and just, talk to us about it.
Right.
Not have to make them refile it.
right.
Like you said, this applicant has done a fine job doing what she's doing. so
I don't want to hamstring her. I mean, I want to let her keep going, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think there's gonna be an issue here. I don't, like, you're saying it, there's no, timeline on a small project. So I don't think there's anything to enforce. I don't think she's gonna go through all this and then let it go.
So we could say that this permit is good for 3 years like an order. I think you have the discretion to do that and allow for the ongoing management.
This is the vegetation management plan. I see it being the same as the
Yeah.
vegetation management plan.
Right.
That after some reasonable period of time, 2 or 3 years,
Right,
if she wishes to do more work, just come into us to discuss it, and we can continue it even further.
right.
And
Similar
not,
to
and not
the-
close it out.
Right, and that's gonna be similar to the, Rolling Ridge,
Yeah, exactly.
community
The farm-
garden that we do.
Yeah.
Yes, okay,
Okay, so we'll do it, so make it 3 years.
okay. And then come back in and
Yeah.
do a report on how things are doing.
Sure,
Does that work?
happy to.
So, I just thought a pre-removal site visit with staff and the applicant to review tagged natives for preservation, a springtime visit with staff with the applicant and the botanist just to discuss approved planting list. And then the third could be, a 3-year life with follow-up at the end. And then a renewal as we do with Rolling Ridge, similar to that, for ongoing, management of invasives.
Brad, Marissa, Sean, you'll be here in 3 years, right? So you remember that anyway, right? Very good. You and me, I don't know. Sean, maybe.
All right, so we need a motion.
I move that we approve this as a small project under category G and utilize the conditions that our administrator just articulated.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
RDA 148 Main Street.
Alrighty. Okay, so this project proposes to mill and overlay the existing parking lot at the easterly side of the complex that is closest to Osgood Pond. Also proposed is removing and replacing 3 existing catch basins to be equipped with deep sump hooded catch basins within the limit of work and repaving. Existing square footage of the pavement will be maintained, no new impervious surface is proposed, or change in grade or runoff is proposed. 1 catch basin is outside jurisdiction, 1 is just inside the 100-foot buffer zone, and the 3rd is just at the 50-foot no-build zone, but it's all in pavement. Erosion controls along the edge of the pond and catch basin inlet protection are proposed. Aside from catch basin replacement, this is very similar to the Edgewood project that was reviewed a couple years ago for a mill and overlay of their access driveways. Project engineer is here this evening if you have questions, but that's it in a nutshell for what's proposed.
So the mill and overlay, I think, is, would be RDA. Is the catch basins just being replaced because their structure is unstable, or?
Yeah, they're very old. If you look inside any of them, they're, you know, at best 1.5 feet sump, and most of them are filled with sediment. Some are cracked. Obviously, we want to replace them with a structure that has a 4-foot sump, so it's going to be much easier for cleaning. 4-foot sump is the standard for new catch basins these days, so they do it allow for better maintenance of the parking lot. As far as the parking lot itself, you know, obviously it's an old broken up parking lot. I know for a fact that the catch basin, the one that's close, right on the 50-foot line, that one in particular is an area you see, I'm sorry, the other one on the left.
This one?
Yep, that one,
Oh,
that
this
area in particular, it has a lot of cracked asphalt. So a lot of the sediment is, you know, being transported into that
it.
broken up catch basin and then dumping it out into the pond. So obviously we want to make that correction.
And will any of the, is it just the catch basin structures, or will any of the pipes be replaced?
Just the catch basin structure.
Okay, that's all.
I have no questions.
I got a few. I guess threshold would be it's a redevelopment project as far as stormwater is concerned. So we're looking for an ultimate improvement, which is exactly why the catch basins are being done and putting deep sumps in. It probably, and I don't know for certain, it probably requires an O&M plan because you are replacing those structures, and those structures discharge to the resource area directly. And which begs the question, so what sort of protections do you propose? I don't see anything in the drawing submitted tonight of while that work is being done to remove the existing bases, put a new one in and reconnect the pipes. I don't see how you're protecting the outfall to the resource area itself. I don't even see any connectivity of pipes that make any logical sense. I can draw some assumed conclusions, but I don't know exactly. I see you protecting inlets for grinding, but you're not doing anything with regards to the 3 basins that are being done. And I think I'm looking at one central to the project, closest to the wetland, that seems to have a pipe that discharges right to the wetland. And I don't see any protection there. So I still think that with the right information on the plan, it's an RDA, but there's not enough information on the plan to make it an RDA. Because those things, we would get into some pretty considerable conditions that would far exceed 3. That being said, I think there needs to be an O&M plan that describes how the frequency of, basically it's TSS removal, maybe some phosphorus control because of the impervious area. And I think it has to meet NIPD's.
Well, wouldn't this fall under maintenance?
What's that?
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, O&M, they hit sweeping, catch basin cleaning, inspections, periodically. They're gonna tell us how often they're gonna do it. They're gonna submit reports to the town that, other developments do.
But this would qualify as a maintenance project, not a redevelopment, right?
Because they're not changing any limits, so yeah, it's maintenance.
Yeah.
So I don't think they need to.
They don't require it for
No.
O&M.
Yeah.
If it was redevelopment, we could.
I want an O&M, I want an inspection schedule.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
it's not
know.
required, yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
For a typical catch basin, under the Mass Stormwater Handbook, it has a biannual inspection as well as pumping out of the sediment within the sump. Obviously, this is a huge condominium. They do maintenance on site all the time. We had already provided an O&M to go along with the structures to the applicant and the owner's rep.
So one exists for them?
It does, we
The
never.
O&M plan for the other parking lot, they repaved about 3 or 4 years ago, right?
No, we provided a separate one just for our filing. It was never formally submitted, but it was provided to the owner's rep as part of, we understand you guys do a lot of maintenance on site, because obviously you want to keep the whole site clean. Here you go. Generally, they ask, under the O&M for catch basin, we ask that they do biannual cleaning, and obviously visual inspection every quarterly basis.
Well, you're gonna have to come in with details of how you're gonna protect the discharges anyway. If you could just, if that's an outlined O&M plan, if you could just submit that, we can keep it in the record, that'll make me be satisfied. The reality is we do have direct discharge, looks to be unmitigated, other than now, you're doing the right thing, putting sumps in, but I think we need to see that in a plan that's in the file. I don't know, who oversees the NIPD's permits? Is that Public Works? Is that, who gets who sends out the reminders annually? Who receives the report? Who reviews them and verifies that they're actually carrying the stuff out?
I believe, DBW has that. I can, but, yeah, I don't know how long ago that other parking lot was done that we would be getting reports for the other side, the other side of the condo complex. But is that what you mean? That should have been in place for the other side?
So, we are in permit year 7
Yep.
of the 5-year permit.
Yep.
So the EPA has not issued it yet, but I can tell you that when the new permit comes out, they're going to be obligated to be submitting the reports.
Okay.
So I think that, this being before us, especially if they've got a template they're already using, I'd like to see it
Yep.
as part of this
Okay.
filing.
Okay.
I'll have to take a look at the outfall. Looking at the plan, it seems like it's just a 6-inch PVC that comes out. I believe at the time, we wanted to leave it alone because it was a projecting pipe that went over the water. Obviously, we have to provide outlet protection for the discharge. We'll have to cut back the pipe and provide an actual,
It may just be a detail that you show that you plug that pipe
During work?
I see.
Yeah, plug that at the basin, just downstream from the basin, while you build a new one, and then stub it back in and reconnect them. And at the end of the whole process is to clean your structures out and clean the pipes out. But we don't have any of that.
My apologies, I misunderstood you.
It's really just how to protect it during work,
Right.
protect that outlet during work. So however, so it's got to be on the plan.
I'm certain
Well, it
we can
doesn't,
beef up the note.
but then it would become an NOI, so doing it
Right,
on the plan, showing it,
showing
keeps
this-
it as an RDA.
Yes, gotcha. Yep.
Is that?
Yeah, I'm all set.
My question, it says, we went through this once already before. Milling, are you doing a total reclamation, or are you just milling an inch down, or
Milling 1.5 inches and then just,
so you're not going to the base coat?
no.
Okay, because then that would change the grades. That'd be a whole new ballgame. So I would put what they're gonna do. You're gonna take 1.5 inches. You're gonna take 2 inches. I don't even know what's there. So they know.
I wasn't gonna go there. Wish I had a nickel every time I milled off 2 inches and found it was only 3/4 of an inch in the areas.
Yeah.
But we don't know, I mean, the thought is to mill down
Mill,
to sound pavement and leave it and just fill on top of it.
Like I said, I just don't want them to have to change the grades.
I don't think we can.
Is that, huh? 'Cause I can't, this is microfilm. I don't even know if there's any grades on there.
There are none. We showed existing grade, but we purposely left out, no
Okay.
proposed grade for that reason, because we don't want them to change the grade at all.
Right. All right, Sean.
I don't have any questions.
Brad?
I think I'm all set. We've said everything I would want to say.
Okay. So if there aren't any questions,
I don't,
you have some conditions that you want done for us, so does that have to be continued? That's the other thing. Even if we approved it tonight, be 3 weeks, you're into December.
They're not doing this work this year, right?
You're not doing it till
This is a
next
springtime
year,
project.
right?
Yeah, we're starting in the spring, and I'm
Okay.
back here for the next meeting for the.
Plants are closing the first week of December.
Told me you were paving this month.
I've seen it done before.
We're just trying to save time by having me coming here for two separate things at the same time, that's all.
When you're,
Push the grate
when
the
you're
snow
giving
off
us
the
information,
You probably
you're looking at,
No,
So you're
yeah,
going-
I was there.
you're going to be going deeper with the sumps, by design, by intent.
Yep.
You probably should put a dewatering detail and a note that says discharge of water would only be to dirt bags or silt bags, discharged to paved areas.
Yep, I think we'll try to beef up the construction control measures. You know, the plug in the inlets as well as the inlet protection, beef that up, as well as the dewatering structure.
What I'm trying to say is make sure it shows up on the plan.
On the plan.
Because it's the one less thing we have to
Good point.
condition is what keeps it an RDA.
Right, right.
Gotcha.
Because if we have more than 3 conditions, it's gonna end up being an NOI, so be as accommodating as you can to what they're asking.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I don't think there's any, this is a public hearing, but I don't see anyone in the audience.
So we need a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You too.
Next one is a modification, 242-1903, 186 Bradford Street.
So, Commission will recall issuing an order recently for connecting this house to town sewer via force main. The homeowner has been working with Eversource in determining if gas connection was viable option, and he was finally able to coordinate with Eversource to get a route and, get them on board to do this. But he wasn't able to do it when we were reviewing for the connection. So the gas line will be within a 18-inch deep trench and is proposed at the easterly side yard of the house through maintained lawn into Bradford Street for final connection in the main in the street. This work is partially in the 25-foot no disturb zone, but it's in the lawn on the side yard. And the house was built in 1970, so the house is in the 50s, so it's a,
Violation.
it's a violation. Right. So due to internal system locations, this route was most efficient and direct. The homeowner's here this evening. If you have questions, I think in terms of, it's 18 inches deep, we're not gonna need dewatering, bless you. And I think a simple silt fence would be sufficient. I don't think this is a long, drawn-out project. But,
I'm all set.
Jack?
Yeah, it's a temporary disturbance, right, within the 25, so I have no issues.
And the only thing we'd want to see is, maybe we can condition it, is that the erosion control shown on the plan just be extended, further around the house to the north and to the east, to encompass that work, where the gas service is. So I guess what you would do is you would be running that up that northerly property line to maybe 20 feet beyond flag number 3.
right. Yep.
Well, that's fine. Everything else is straightforward. Even that's straightforward.
John?
I have a question. Do we need a waiver for a temporary disturbance?
We already granted the waiver for the sewer work, didn't we?
Yeah,
Are we extending the waiver?
I have no other questions.
well,
It's already there, if there's already been a waiver
similar,
request.
similar work, but it's even less intense than the sewer trench, because it's much deeper for the
Yep.
sewer.
I have no other questions.
Right?
I'm all set.
Motion.
I move that we grant the modification request for 186 Bradford Street, 242-1903. And I think the consensus is we don't have to do anything with the existing waiver.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
On discussion, is that, the erosion control be extended
Yes,
along the northerly property line to just
Yep.
20 feet beyond flag 3.
okay.
Okay. And opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, all
right,
set.
All set, thank you.
Next one, NOI 242-1894, 1101 Turnpike Street.
All righty. So the commission will call this order of conditions governs expansion of a parking lot in front of the administrative building at this site. At the last meeting, the commission asked for an operation and maintenance plan that encompassed the entire complex, the entire site, and also required that test pits be performed within the proposed gravel wetland area. We've received an O&M plan. I didn't print the whole thing for your package because it was like 64 pages, but I did email it to you. I have some of the plans for the BMP locations and snow storage in your packet. And the test pit revealed that basically no changes were made to the proposed gravel wetland. And they don't anticipate ledge to be encountered. Project representatives are here this evening from VHB if you have questions. And they've finished with planning board. Yep, and received approval.
Marissa?
I don't have any questions.
Jack?
Yeah, my main thing was the stormwater management third-party review by Horsley Witten. As long as we're
Yes.
satisfied with the applicant's responses, I think the rest of it's good. Nothing else for me.
No questions.
No questions?
Right?
Yeah, stormwater review is completed, so I'm good.
No more questions, motion?
So I have prepared a draft decision, so you can close tonight and issue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks.
All righty. 242-1900 Great Pond Road, boat ramp. Or boat launch, excuse me.
All righty. Okey-doke. So at the last meeting, the commission ordered that test pits be performed within the footprint of the bioretention areas. They did perform those. Their findings required them to change the bioretention areas to grass-lined infiltration basins to maintain the 2-foot separation of the bottom of the basin to the estimated seasonal high groundwater. No changes to the stormwater report was necessary according to the design engineer. The commission also asked for a case study on the materials to be used on the boat launch, particularly in relation to the resilience and integrity of the part of the boat launch that would be in the water and subject to impact of ice formation. Design engineer found an example in Peabody, Mass. At Crystal Lake, and photos of its construction were provided. And I actually visited the site on Monday, and just to get, an up-to-date visual of what things look like. So it's sort of the same and sort of not the same in terms of what's proposed here, but I think the pictures kind of tell the story. Let's see. So basically, the example in Peabody is basically, it's at grade within, it probably is within water, but right now, water levels are so low that it's totally exposed. Where here we have, you know, some of a rock revetment that's gonna surround it, it'd still be somewhat at grade, but maybe not as much. So, I don't know. I'll let the project engineer explain it, but.
Fire away. I'm Ryan Paul of Environmental Partners, by the way.
I think in the previous, I can't remember quite clearly, but the previous plan was relying on the bioretention media to meet TSS pre-treatment. And if you're changing it, I'm just curious if those calcs were updated.
So back when we did the stormwater review of Horsley Whitman,
Yep.
they were asking us to do some test pits. That was the beginning of it. With the planning board, they were going to let us do it during construction and conservation. You preferred to do it before, so we did that. The change to there's in one test pit, we did two, one in each area. One test pit was about 2 feet higher than the annual high water mark. There was no groundwater when we were there, it was so dry out. One area was 2 feet higher, one area was about 1 foot higher than what we had assumed from our boring locations that we had. So, according to the Mass DEP handbook, we wanted to do a bioretention area because the plantings are nice and it gives you a better feel to the area, and of course the plantings do take, you know, some of the nitrogen out as well. But if we're going to make sure we follow the Mass DOT handbook, we have to have that water level 2 feet below the bio material. So if we can't do that, then we can still meet all the requirements. We just have to make it a regular infiltration basin. It still meets the 80%. And also, most of this water that's impervious is coming from the roadway now. And yeah, we do have about half the site that is coming into the basins themselves, but it is an a pervious surface that we are using. So we're trying to improve the area to the best we can with what we have available to us. And we think the bioretention area or the regular infiltration basin gets us about the same treatment.
So, I guess just to clarify, were those calcs updated to?
No, because there's no
Okay.
change between the bioretention area and the infiltration basin. They still give us the same treatment
It's only
measures.
because the organic media was extending down.
Yeah, so we just can't put plantings
into the
in.
separation zone.
Yeah, but we still get the same amount of infiltration and treatment. It's just, now it's just a plain grassed infiltration basin, because we want to make sure we're going by the handbook to the letter.
Okay.
Yeah, DPW did quite a nice job for you on those test pits. They were
Yeah.
pretty,
And we had a
Very
soil evaluator out there, and we made sure we did a proper report on them, just make sure we cross all our Ts.
how long has that Crystal Lake application been in service?
I think we put it in here, June 2018.
Oh, my, okay.
So it's been there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
6
and
years.
we talked to the owner, and it does, there is water and there is freezing in the area, and it seems to have held up so far, and that's the best case study we could come up with for this area. We also talked to the DPW as well, and they do like these pavers because they're easy to replace if something happens. They haven't had any issues on the other one, but I know the Merrimack River bull launch doesn't freeze the same way, so.
Okay, I'm good.
So I think the first set of photographs were from the record from when that Crystal Lake facility was built, right? They seem to be construction photos.
Correct.
So what I'm seeing here that I don't recall seeing in the earlier submission, but maybe it's in the other sheets, because you're only giving us figure 1 and figure 2 tonight.
Yep.
is that this is on top of a matrix of GeoGrid. I don't believe your design had that. I think you were putting them right on top of the stone.
Yes, correct.
So I think the GeoGrid is what gives it that frost heave stabilization.
Yeah, and we can add that in.
Yeah, I think
That's not an issue. We can add that, we can add a GeoGrid layer in. In fact, we have been discussing whether we should add it in or not. It's, the manufacturer didn't recommend it to us when we first went through our design process, but that's not a problem to put on our final plans.
Yeah. That'll distribute any frost heave activity.
That would
and-
definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then I'm satisfied with that question.
It doesn't hurt.
Thank you. And I'm all set with everything else.
Did you find Crystal Lake comparable to Lake Kachikwick
No,
at all?
no.
Did you see anybody put a boat in the water at Crystal Lake?
Yeah, there was a little aluminum boat that kids were, I mean, it wasn't it was like a electric motor.
Like a toy boat?
But it wasn't, well, it was small, but, I mean,
I grew up there. Nobody puts boats in Crystal Lake. That thing,
Yeah.
I think, has gotten very little use.
Yeah.
It's not comparable to the use that it's going to have here. So I don't know if it's a good design or a bad design. I just don't think you should put much stock in the fact that it's a Crystal Lake in West Peabody.
right.
But the issue wasn't.
The issue was the freezing, I think we were trying, yeah.
That's what I was,
Yeah,
was freeze
yeah.
spot.
Well, I thought it was the reliance that the fact that it's going to be there, it's going to be there for a long time without change. It's going to get use, and it's going to be stable, and it's going to be as good as other substances that you could put there. And I'm saying Crystal Lake isn't testing any of that.
Right?
I'm all set.
Okay, any more questions?
So
Motion?
I don't have a decision ready for tonight, and so our next meeting is 4 weeks. I think we need the plans to be updated for the GeoGrid. So if we could continue, sorry, I tried, I just couldn't get it together, but,
It's going to be the same outcome. Get the plan done, get it
Yeah.
to the record.
right,
And we are prepared to go in
Right.
December meeting, right?
right. That's right,
Yep, yeah, whatever you
Okay.
guys need,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you. And I'll move to continue.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So our next meeting is the 11th of December.
All in
Be
favor,
there.
say aye.
Thank you.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one, 242-1901, 1250 Osgood Street. Request to continue to December 11th.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one's 242-1902, 82 Liberty Street.
Alrighty. So the commission recalled this NOI is in response to an enforcement order for unauthorized work conducted on the rear deck, patio, and hot tub. After the fact work includes demolition of the rear deck with stairs and rebuild the larger footprint, slightly larger footprint, rear patio demo to be rebuilt in the same footprint, and then spa replacement further away from the wetland. That work is in both the 25 and the 50. Newly proposed work includes a garage addition with deck and entry connection that are now all outside the 50. They have gone through ZBA approval for the setback for the garage, so that's all set. Driveway extension to meet the newer garage, partly within the 50. Installation of upgraded septic system between the 50 and the 100, partially under the driveway. I included, I think, in your packets, the latest response letter to Board of Health peer review. There weren't substantive changes to the system per se, it was just like plan notations. So that's probably pretty close to approval. Since the applicant has last been before you, I've had discussions with them about, they're seeking waivers for a slightly larger deck and generally the work in the 25 and the 50. I recommended that, a more concentrated alternatives analysis and waiver requests be done for that work, and also a mitigation plan that enhances the buffer zone and even perhaps the wetland. So they have come up with what you have before you. We have full-size plans, so it's easier for you guys to read. Project engineer and the homeowner is here tonight if you have specific questions.
So is there any grading modification to this upland mitigation area, or is it just strictly plantings?
Just planting, no grading change.
And same thing with the wetland restoration area?
Yeah. So basically, we selected plants based on North Andover's plant list. So the wetland ones are in the wetland. The upland ones, according to the list, are in the upland. Yeah, that's it. And there's a silt barrier around the limit of work.
So if we have an instance like this with a silt barrier with work essentially in the wetland area, I mean, it would make sense that the silt barrier is on the other side because all the planting work is hand done, right? The restoration work.
Right.
It's also, I should clarify, it's a compost sock in the wetland, so not a siltation barrier. That's usually more appropriate to put in the wetland. And that's spec'd on the plan too. So it's not like the fence with like the, material that wouldn't degrade. So that's, the difference. But, usually even when doing work in the wetland, it's appropriate to still put something on the downgrading limit. So that's why it's provided around the restoration area.
Yeah, so it still need to be staked in.
Yeah.
I guess that's all I have for
So-
now.
In the wetland, yes, you're proposing 9-inch compost sock. And in the wetland, you're proposing 40 native shrubs and probably like a seed mix.
Right.
Actually, I don't even think you need the seed mix.
Yeah, I didn't really specify that, no. It's just whatever, let me,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's like you mulch it with salt marsh hay. That's what is
Right.
Appropriate to put in the wetland usually.
Yeah. I mean, it's fairly well vegetated now. It doesn't have a lot of shrubs.
Right.
And through the years, water levels have risen, so a lot of trees have died. I mean, it's, it's pretty stark when if you look at old pictures from when it was on, MLS. I mean, the trees were there, and then the water came, and now they're all like dead snags. So, I mean, I guess it's getting more light, so, probably the herbaceous layer is exploded a little bit more. And, it could probably use some shrubs, because it wasn't,
Yeah, I think the shrubs are beneficial to the project. It's more just like, is laying that erosion control line in the wetland going to be more disruptive for
right.
plantings that are going to be done by hand versus?
Yeah,
uh,
maybe not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just holes to get, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe unnecessary.
Is this a pretty old house?
I think this was built in,
It was built about 30 years ago. I can look it up while we talk. It's an Econ deck house. So it was built in, just give me 1 second. I will find it. for you.
I'm just trying to,
I would say a little bit over 30. I have it here in a second. It's listed online as 1987.
yep.
So about, 37 years, 38.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to rationalize
Yeah,
it.
1987.
If it was the same project I'm thinking of, why the wetland is so close to the house.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
there's an issue with like beaver dams.
Yeah.
And so we work, so beaver dams are in the town of Middleton, and we are have worked with the town of Middleton and have built 3 flow-through devices in beaver dams. And actually today, they just inserted a third one. And so that will probably help with the water level. And so far, every like 3 to 4 years, so we bought the house like 13 years ago, and every 3 to 4 years, there was essentially another beaver dam causing a problem, and a flow-through device was inserted. Today, they just built and inserted another one. And so that's done with the company Beaver Solution.
Yeah. We're
that
very
we have
familiar
worked
with them.
Yeah, probably you know Mike there and John.
Yes.
So 2 really good guys. So we have worked with them really close.
Okay.
But it's a dramatic change, as Amy pointed out. When we bought the house, there was essentially a huge forest with really tall trees between the house and the lake, and now they're dead trees. So the wetland certainly has come closer to the house.
Okay. I'll pass for now. I may have some more.
Yeah, I'm following the same train of thought that Marissa laid out, is that if the restoration area is really looking at mostly, in fact, almost exclusively herbaceous land, right? Ferns, Russian, and milkweed, and only those are 24 inches high, it's all hand work. I absolutely agree that putting compost, again, thank you
Yeah.
for trying to protect, but I think in the long run, we really don't need it. If it's hand planting and you commit to hand planting, and that you were to confine that work to the work area itself, I think putting the compost socket is just too onerous. I don't think you get any benefit out of it. What I'm a little confused on is that, and again, I understand that there's the violation, there's the prior condition, there's the existing condition that's in violation, then there's this interim condition, and then what's proposed. So there is silt fence out there,
Yep,
and which they're not looking to change. So the notation of existing silt fence to be removed
right.
is an accurate note, but we want to make sure it to be removed when the,
Oh,
when
yeah,
the work is complete.
absolutely.
Yeah, when the,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so I think it just needs some clarification of that.
Right.
So if we've got the sandwich between erosion control work and silt fence,
Yep.
where it is appropriate, it stays there until the work is complete.
Right.
And do away with
With-
the compost sock, I think we're fine.
Right.
As long as we're clear on
Yes.
where those limits are, and I think this conversation makes me more clear on where it is. I'm a
So I
little
think as-
confused by the request on the deck. Are we taking that separately? That conversation separately? Because
We
they're
can-
looking, so what's out there now is in violation, and that was a work in progress, it was construction halted, right?
Right.
And at this point, they're looking to extend it a little bit further. I guess it's unclear to me
Like-
how much further, but I am seeing the line that looks like
Just shy
it's.
of 2 feet. Just shy of 2 feet.
But not the footings, just the
Right,
surface.
exactly. The footings, I was there today, and I looked closer at the footings, and the homeowner had explained to me that the footings are pretty much in the same location as they were, and I can see that from the previous holes. So I do agree that the footings are where they were before. It's just that the cantilever came out a little bit further. The
And a
stairs.
statement to that effect is all we allow that on a regular basis.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
the stairs going towards the driveway are wider. So, no, I mean,
By a tiny bit, by essentially like 1.9 feet.
yeah. So if you see the grade
The
out.
wetland is 1.1 foot closer because of the angle. So that's, and yeah, like you said, it's the extent of like the hardscape is what usually we survey on plans for existing decks, what we specify for the proposed, regardless of where exactly the footing is.
Projected overhang.
Yeah, exactly, like the plan view, obviously, right? So, but that is what is, and the distance that we're kind of asking for is the change from 14.8 to 13.7, so 1.1 foot closer.
And that's what the area that looks to be obviously stairs, the hatching horizontal heading up towards the driveway?
Yes, yeah, it's not really hatching, it's the steps.
Steps themselves, yeah.
Yeah, those are the steps, right,
Yep.
so the steps are wider, you can see that.
So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of where the difference is made up, that they're kind of, if a deck was built today, they'd probably be about that wide. I think they're about 5 or 6 feet wide.
So then
versus
I'm
what
just gonna
it's-
guess that the steps have just stringers, and it's just the very first tread, that first stringer
think
is
so,
sitting
yeah.
on the ground. So it's literally just the foot of that first stringer
Yep.
by a foot and a half.
That's wider, yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that question now. I understand that. Thank you for the clarification, it was unclear to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you get back out of Board of Health, what was the question, just the?
I can explain it if you want.
Yeah, go right
So
ahead.
there were like 2 comments. It was like adding a note about like a note about the waiver for the septic that we're asking for, basically, and the other one was about clarifying like the Presby event, just like this particular peer reviewer was a little confused, or at least said he was confused on the way that we had the vent for the Presby, and I kind of clarified it. He responded to me like an hour ago. I didn't read the email yet or anything. I just noticed that he answered, but it's consistent with how we always show the vents, and either way, like, it's just like the vent and explaining how the vent and the details work is kind of what's outstanding. It's not changing the design or anything.
Those vents aren't in conflict with the driveway.
No,
Travel
because they
area.
come off, like, you put the vents in and then they'll come up in the grass that's over there. So there's like 10 feet between the pavement and the property line that's just like grass on like the opposite side of the wetland. So it's at on like the top of the plan if you're looking at it, that's where the vents are gonna go.
Okay.
And usually vents, like, we show them on the plan, but the contractor kind of puts them where it makes sense, with something like that.
So we could say that they've satisfied the requirement to coordinate permits, they've got that file with the Board of Health at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm all set.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
And ZBA approved too, I don't know if that was mentioned, yeah.
No questions.
So we got an extension of the cantilever of the deck further into the 25, but we're not doing any more disturbance than what was previously there because the footings haven't changed.
Yeah. And it's already been built too, is kind of
Yep.
the issue, like, it's
Yeah.
sitting there unfinished. That's kind of why the preference is to, leave it, finish it, and then, we'll have mitigation proposed to offset it, because it is a waiver in the 25, technically, but, yeah, basically what you said, yes.
So I'd be willing to support this one because I believe there's a good argument to be made that we're not disturbing anything more within that 25, but I somewhat worry about setting a precedent. This gentleman's 1.9 feet I got no problem with, but the next guy's 15-foot one, however crazy cantilever thing they can do.
So we traditionally and consistently have held, it's the footing location. So
Okay.
on a deck, if you can structurally support it and hang it out over, you can hang it over the wetland.
Okay.
Let's not give anybody any ideas.
But those footings have to be 50 feet away.
Okay.
So unless you can figure out how to cantilever it, if you can cantilever something 50 feet, good luck structurally, but I suppose. So we've typically have held, that it's the structure in contact with the ground.
Okay. As long as we're consistent with that, I'm all set.
Thank you. Any more questions?
You would vote on the waiver request. That's what you guys usually do before you close. Yeah, that's what you usually, you guys usually like to vote on the waiver request before you close.
So the only waiver is that 1'9" at the first step. Everything
Right,
else is
otherwise-
everything else is above ground and far enough away, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the spa is moving away further than it was. The stone patio is staying where it was. And it's the deck that is, just is the thing that is,
But that's not a waiver. If the footings are in fact outside
Yeah.
the 50, or where they were,
yeah,
that's not a waiver either. But what I'm hearing is that that first step, that first string of that 1'9"
Yes, is.
in contact, that's the waiver.
yes,
And everything else is either pre-existing.
right, in the 50, right.
So you're not saying that like replacing the patio, which got ripped up, is needing a waiver then? Or like doing the mitigation is not needing a waiver? Is that what you're saying?
Right, the patio's already been.
Patio's
no,
up.
not yet.
They didn't rebuild the patio yet.
I mean,
Or,
technically,
the spa's gone.
technically,
too.
activity restoration is a waiver. But I
Yeah.
mean, and why would we not grant it?
Right, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
right.
Some people get very picky about asking for waivers for anything that constitutes like work, so that's why I was.
Yeah,
We do, we're
Yeah.
in that category.
Yes.
I'm in that
There
category.
you go.
yeah.
All right, so you wanna vote the waiver? Make a motion?
So we are now satisfied that the one waiver will cover all activities. It is just the patio area, because everything else was pre-existing.
Well, I think you said it's
deck.
it's the last footing for the steps.
Right.
The garage is new though.
The garages doesn't need.
But it's complying. You're meeting
Yeah,
the
it's
50 on the
just out
garage.
just out of the 50,
You've got some new driveway coming in the 50 that wasn't there before.
yeah.
That's a waiver.
Yep.
Yeah,
And the patio, et cetera, is just in kind, is what you're telling me.
in kind.
I move that we grant a waiver from the bylaw from no build, no disturb, specific to the stair landing from the deck, modifications to the driveway,
Second.
and allow planting activities for restoration in the resource area.
Re-second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Aye.
Sean's
Oh, one, I forgot.
Speaking of kisses,
Captain Waiver.
Hey, listen, if you'd come in front of us before, and we wouldn't have allowed him to put that step there. So that's it, but I'm glad, I'm happy for him.
So,
See,
can we close?
see, you got that?
I do have a
Decision ready on this one?
draft, yeah, ready.
Move that we close initial decision.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. You're all set.
All right,
All right.
thank you guys. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, thanks,
So we have to vote.
thanks, yeah.
Thanks, Amy.
Next one is the enforcement order on Liberty Street, so we can just
So,
vote it.
We have to lift that, because now they're in compliance with the
Nathaniel,
order.
Nathaniel, you'll just explain that I've got 21 days to issue the decision, and there's a
Yeah.
waiting period, and lots of pre-construction stuff,
Yep.
so, just, you can't start work until
Yeah, no.
all that's, okay, all right, thanks, yeah.
So there's one last piece of business on that
Yes.
Liberty. And,
Yes,
I
yes.
move that,
82.
having completed the notice of intent process and we're about to issue an order of conditions, that we lift the enforcement order.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
And we never had fines
No,
taken away on this one.
no,
'cause
we
It was
haven't.
always good faith moving
Yes,
forward, yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Next one is 55 South Bradford Street.
South Bradford. All right. All righty. Okay. So the commission recall issuing an enforcement order that asked first and foremost that a removal and restoration plan for head wall materials that were deposited in the downstream side of the stream and the BBW to be prepared to try to capture this season's ability to work and get that done. The wetland consultant provided a removal and restoration plan that involves a combination of an excavator removing the very heavy stuff and then smaller stuff by hand with a winter rye application for this season to stabilize and installation of erosion controls over the winter, is that correct?
Right, just along the bank.
The
There's an
bank.
intermittent stream bank, obviously, flowing from the culverts.
Yeah. And then in the spring, planting that area with some shrubs and native seed mix. The restoration plan for the understory clearing on the upstream side, you know, kind of details her findings. I'm thinking maybe we could use a few more shrubs and a few more trees, just because it's kind of a big area. I don't really know what the square footage is, but
So what's interesting is, when I went out there and reviewed the area and flagged the wetland, I didn't notice any tree stumps that were cut. Most of the vegetation that was removed was just shrubs, buckthorn, dogwood, high bush blueberry. A lot of the high bush blueberry is coming back right now in the photographs that you can see. In addition, he removed a substantial amount of bittersweet. In the photographs, you can see he stockpiled some of the branches, he cut some dead wood off the trees, but certainly didn't clear cut the area or anything in that nature. As you can see from the photographs, he opened up the area that was sunlight. I think it's gonna bounce right back and look great in the springtime. You know, I almost feel like plantings aren't really necessary, given the fact that that's likely gonna happen, but I incorporated some plantings. I can do additional plantings if the commission finds that appropriate. But, you know, all the stumps were left in place, and as you can see from the blueberry, it's just coming right back.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the blueberry will come back, but I think like the invasives will probably come back as well. So I'd be in favor of some native plantings, but I'll defer to everyone else. That's my only question.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process too, and Amy had expressed an interest in having more plantings. Was the concern choking out invasives?
Partially, I guess.
Or
I mean, I know-
just a general feel for the area?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Maureen that there's gonna be some rebound for sure now that there's a little more light and, but, I mean, I suppose we could see how it goes and, you know, go with what she's proposed and then see how it goes maybe at the end of the next growing season and see, you know, is there areas that need attention, or are we seeing, you know, buckthorn go crazy, and do we need to, you know, I don't know.
So I'm thinking transects, that if this is a alteration, when you consider a wetland, you look at soils, you look at hydraulic, you look at the vegetation at various
Yeah.
growth areas,
Yeah,
zones. And so rather than saying specifically which species and where to put them, shouldn't we be looking at like a performance standard that if, you know, over the affected area, it needs to vegetate to whatever,
yeah,
whatever percentage that is, and I, so many years ago, so they took a delineation course, I don't remember that exact percentage, but they should restore to the extent that makes it back into a resource area. Whether that's done manually by planting or whether it's by natural reversion, you know, doesn't really matter to me so long as we give it a certain period of time that we're gonna tolerate for that to happen.
right.
I think this is a great candidate for that, because I think my underlying fear is what a wasted effort going out and doing things, because all the invasives are absolutely gonna take over, and within 2 years, you know, everything you planted is gone. and you just got this wide open, beautiful
Yeah.
sunlit area that's
Right.
thriving with
Ripe
buckthorn
for-
and bittersweet and everything else. So I think that if we give them a threshold that makes us revert to that percent cover, that makes it a resource area, that's what we should be striving to. And that an evaluation be made in the, spring's too early, but maybe in the fall, get
Yeah.
it through an entire growing season and see how it does revert.
Yep.
And it, if it stays open, and then at that point, we can talk about, well, natural, reestablishing didn't work, you're gonna have to go there and
Yeah.
augment it with some targeted plantings in
Okay.
these areas only. That would be
Right.
more beneficial, I think.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
That's only my thought. I don't know what others think.
Does make sense.
My question is the site, is it gonna be stable without plantings or grass or?
Yeah, I mean, there was no machinery in there, there's no, truck paths, there's no erosion. They just went in, I think the landscape is with minor tools to cut the shrubs back, stockpile the wood. As part of the restoration, I called for all that wood to be taken out of the resource area. Something that they can do this fall to remove it, if that's appropriate. I mean, it offers some critter
Yeah,
habitat,
it
but
does,
there is a lot of stockpiles out there.
Our next meeting is 4 weeks away, isn't it?
Yep,
Amy?
yep.
Right? I think the debris should be removed by the next meeting. That gives them a month.
Okay. Woody debris that are stockpiled like these, like shown in the picture, like,
Talking about the culvert.
Yeah, the blocks,
oh, you mean, I'm sorry, the
blocks,
head wall
the
stuff.
tree
I'm
branches,
sorry.
and
You mean the head wall stuff?
the head wall stuff.
That's already, was that already removed?
No.
No.
No,
Okay,
this
sorry.
is, it's still there. So-
I think that's reasonable. I think that they want to get that done. So I think that can be done.
Although, that, in front of the pipe, okay, those are leaves, I wasn't sure if it was dirt. Okay,
So
Yeah.
what was that stone? Was that just like a fascia in front of the concrete? Were they wing walls?
So it was a stone head wall, and my understanding is the head wall started to collapse, so they replaced it with this concrete head wall. And the debris, whoever replaced it, left the debris
That's
where
recent
it is.
history, but that
Yeah, that was.
decrepit concrete looks like it's 40 years old. Yeah, stuccoed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a comment, but I'll keep it to myself.
I'm not even going to get into the structure of it.
I don't wanna get in trouble.
Yeah, the violation is a violation.
Yeah.
We're not here to talk about critique the
Okay.
construction, right?
Sean, any questions?
No, sir.
Brad?
I think I'll just be repeating what everybody else has said at this
Okay.
point.
All right, so the
So,
date we want is
Do
by
we
the
want
next.
to amend the enforcement order to establish that deadline of December 11th to remove and get erosion controls for the head wall materials?
And then, do we want to talk about years, like, we're talking about 2 years? To
A
get,
year.
Like 80% coverage?
Well, in restoration, we would expect 2 full growing seasons
Yeah.
with 75% survival rate, right? What I don't know is what would constitute the resource area, what percent cover, is it 50%
Yes,
of obligate species?
50% or more wetland plants.
Of all, yeah.
Yeah.
So there, the evaluation be made next fall
Okay.
as to the, it's a census of the plant life that's out there. And then at that point, we can, that'll just be the next update on the enforcement of, we can decide whether additional plantings needed in honor this natural growth is doing the trick.
Okay,
So no additional plantings this year.
Right.
okay. And so 50% or more of natives within wetland and buffer, or wetland, is what we want to see for a performance standard.
But there was no wetland disturbance, right, other than the brook itself, the crossing itself?
Well, there was clearing in the wetland, yes.
It was clearing of vegetation
Yeah.
in the
In the
wetland,
wetland,
predominantly shrubs and.
I'm not
there's-
articulating myself clearly, but
Yeah, so
what I'm
this-
driving at is I
this the
think,
wetland. Up-
given the soil conditions that I see out here in the limited amount of disturbance, I really believe we'd be fighting Mother Nature to try to plant something that we think comes off of our list that might work. I think it's gonna be naturally sprouting up, and you're gonna be happy with an outcome that's gonna be natural
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
native.
It's gonna look fantastic.
Okay. All right, so we'll establish that deadline for the head wall work for the next meeting, and then establish a deadline for monitoring.
Second meeting in September,
for
2025.
Okay.
And it's 50% of what?
Wetland plants, obligate, facultative wet, or facultative plants
Within the wetland
within the
area.
resource area.
Within the resource area.
We're not planting any new ones,
Take a
so
look.
we don't have
I
a
would too.
baseline of how many plants. We're not planting 100 plants and hoping that 50 or more survive.
We're not using a number, it's percent cover of the area.
Of the area.
Percent cover of the
Cover
area,
of the
so
area.
it's very
So-
subjective.
Yeah, so Maureen will have to, well, I mean, she's delineated the wetland, so she can do some transects and get that.
I can do that. I can meet Amy out there. We can have a meeting of the minds and, you know, see if we agree. If we need more plantings, it's not a problem. We can get them in next fall.
I think that second meeting in September gives you that window to do some more planting
Right.
next year. It's the correct window.
It's the best time of year to plant,
Right.
really. Except for maybe this year.
Yeah, right.
So I move that amendment to the enforcement.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. All right.
Next one, 105 Hillside Road.
Nobody's here.
No, Maureen's the consultant for 105. Okay. I'm gonna pull up the plot plan. Okay. So, the enforcement order required a surveyed plot plan to be prepared and to show all existing everything on site, including the unauthorized concrete walkway and steps that was constructed on the southern side of the house. Commission wanted to see, it was stated by the homeowner that he would really rather keep, the concrete there. And so the commission responded that that's basically a request for a waiver. So they came back with an alternatives analysis and a waiver request and a mitigation plan. So we have approximately, what is that? 160 square feet of encroachment. About 54 of it is in the 25 and 106 in the 50-foot no disturb zone for the unauthorized concrete steps and expansion of the rear patio. The sump drains are shown. The northerly pipe is connected to the town drainage, and the southerly extends into the wetland, although we couldn't find the end of it for the life of us. So they're proposing to cut that and equip it with a bubbler, I forget what you call it.
Emitter.
Bubbler emitter, just off of the, do you know what I'm talking about? All right,
Basically, it's a nine, it comes up and it
Yeah.
discharges vertically.
Right.
right, yeah. They're proposing 942 square feet of mitigation planting to replace lawn within the 25-foot no disturb zone. The shed was discussed at the last meeting, but at this point, they're leaving it, so they haven't proposed to remove that. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, if you want to add anything, Maureen?
The only other thing to add is we're relocating the play structure outside of the 25-foot. I tried to provide a robust mitigation, considering I am requesting a waiver from the 25 and the 50-foot for the corner of that concrete. So essentially, the mitigation is more than 5 times of the square footage within the 25-foot and 50-foot no build. Cutting back the sump pump drain and removing the play structure. My client's concerned about the groundwater and surface water weeping into his basement. We had a lot of rain last year. He got a lot of water damage in his basement. He would like to possibly keep that concrete so that it acts as a barrier to the foundation in terms of water weeping in.
I guess 2 comments to be consistent with other filings. I would like to see the shed moved.
Okay.
And then, is DPW aware of the illegal connection? I know that's not in our jurisdiction, but I think we should.
Yeah, no, I can't remember whether I CC'd them on the enforcement order or not,
Okay.
but,
Is that a requirement to get a permit through the town? Just from my own knowledge, I don't know.
What's the connection you're referring to? I missed that,
It's-
sorry.
They have their roof drainage connected to the catch basin.
Let's get it to town
Well,
drainage.
it's trench drain too.
Right.
Yeah, so they're
Right.
into the street. So if you go scroll down, yeah, so it's that existing 12-inch. And I know that's outside of the wetland resource areas, I just
No, but,
wanted to make them aware of it.
oh, yeah.
So it's the 4-inch drain that seems to be stubbing into the 12. That's where it is, up at the corner of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
That 4-inch drain, yes.
How is that stubbed into a 12-inch pipe?
I don't know how that was done.
Dug it down and drilled into it,
What's the
stuck
problem?
it in.
I don't think anybody even knows that that's there that way. I think there's a 4-inch drain coming out of that corner, just like there's a 4-inch drain coming out of the corner that you can't find where it goes.
Right.
This may just go out to the side yard and just terminate underground. But do we know it's in the drain?
We have a stamped plan.
I
What?
would
We
say,
have a stamped plan.
what they do, Joe, you know that.
I know it.
You know what they do with it. They run the perimeter drain into the stone that surrounds the pipe.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the pipe.
It's not in the
I mean, nobody in their right mind would do that because when that catch basin that's
They've been
compromised.
doing that for years.
I've only lived here for 5 years, and y'all done all kinds of crap like that.
No.
You see all kinds of it?
Yeah.
What, breaking it, cutting into the pipes?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Whenever I saw it done, they just run it into the stone around in the trench.
It's out of jurisdiction from conservation.
Well,
It's
yeah.
not part of this project, and,
Well,
what?
it is in the buffer, but.
But they're
I
not
mean,
changing it, they didn't change anything up there, right? Not in that corner, they only did the opposite corner, didn't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Since it's
No,
not
this-
jurisdiction, maybe we just let DPW know and they can investigate if
Yeah.
they
Right.
see fit.
It is in the outer reaches of the buffer zone. So I'm just saying.
So if we asked them to do something, that in itself would be an activity that requires a permit. But leaving it alone is not an activity that's enforceable.
Well, they did it while all of this work was done.
This was recently
Yes,
added?
Yes. This is not historic thing. This
Oh,
was
I'm
done when
sorry.
they
I was
did
thinking
all
that
of that concrete work and, yeah. So this was part of all the unpermitted work.
Oh, that's the trench drain that's on the ground that is draining there. That's not roof drainage.
I don't know what it is.
It's
because
probably everything. Sub
You can't
pumps,
really
trench
get the
drain.
straight answer.
Really?
What the?
So,
I guess that they probably put a pipe.
So I apologize. I thought that was
no, that's-
existing. That
no,
was
it's
part
not.
of
It
the
was-
modification.
yeah. That was
Even
part
though
of work done that
our
was,
focus was up in the other corner.
Right,
He also
I know,
did this
but-
work too.
but
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
There's a trench drain in the 100 that's in our jurisdiction that drains to that 4-inch. Supposedly.
I would say they have, if it were for years,
I guess to make things make me feel a little more comfortable is the outlet invert is 27, it could be 257.1. And according to the grade of the driveway, that's a full,
Trench it into the sewer.
that's more than 10 feet lower.
Yeah.
At least it that way.
I know what, with 264 up in that corner, right? 264 in that corner.
trench drain grate
Probably not surcharging.
We, Maureen, the other thing is that I wasn't here at the last meeting,
Me
the
neither.
meeting before.
Yeah.
I told the gentleman to get the shed out of the point, get it out of there.
Okay.
I guess he didn't believe me.
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I am not willing to approve anything until that shed's out of there. I mean, it's a right-
Question. Could we possibly, I know typically you want it outside the 50-foot, correct? Could we possibly relocate it outside of the 25-foot in an area of lawn?
No.
Typically, it's the regulation.
Typically, it's outside
I'm
the
reading
50.
it, I have it right here in front of me.
It's a better idea to put the shed where you're proposing to put the relocated play structure and have the play structure be in the 25. It's not a permanent structure, the shed is.
Okay.
I think that's a better judgment call for this project. But I'm in agreement with Marissa and Lou that the shed can't stay where it is.
How do we feel about the additional concrete little patio we put around the steps?
That's the,
That's all.
We've got this area
None of
right
that
here,
would have
the
been permitted.
25.
None of that's,
Yeah,
would have been permissible.
That's the 160 square feet, right?
Yes. So all of that was an area of lawn. So in terms of earthwork, cutting trees, cutting shrubs, that did not occur, although it is within your setbacks.
We wouldn't have allowed it when it came in front of us.
Yeah, we wouldn't have allowed the house in the 50 either.
No, and the area that's on the downside of the house has greater slope to the wetlands is probably least likely to cause invasive stormwater into his basement as well. That area is more likely to run off into a wetland.
And there's other ways to treat it versus putting concrete there.
I mean, obviously, something happened with this site because the house is in the 50-foot no-build zone. You know, either the wetland moved or this was built during different,
1966.
Yeah, these hillside, these are all, yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't take exception to that 54 square feet of concrete. But I think the more important things have to do with the shed and,
You wouldn't take exception to the patio he built into the 25?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, he went into the 50 and the 25.
When he knew he was in the no-build zone when he
Right.
did it?
All that's new
You're cool
work.
with that?
I'm reading right here, 50 foot, it's, construction of any kind is prohibited,
Yeah.
including but not limited to foundations associated with single-family dwellings, commercial and/or industrial buildings, porches, decks, footings, pilings, sonotubes, patios, house additions, building additions, pools, fences, sheds.
Yeah, and by the straight interpretation, the house is out of compliance.
Well, the house was built before the bylaw.
It's
These things-
before the bylaw.
These things were just built when they were coming in front of us.
The concrete work was done right after Amy had said, don't build over there.
True.
Well, we have to make a
Yeah, let's do
decision.
something here, guys.
Yeah,
It's getting late.
yeah. What,
It's a mess.
so,
Well, I think it's fair and consistent that the guidance we gave him at the last meeting was to make it comply, that when he showed us photographs, that first he had said it used to be this, and then he showed us photographs, and it wasn't even that. So what we're seeing now is absolutely a violation. I don't
Right.
think if he came in and said, I'd like to do this, we wouldn't
We
grant
wouldn't-
permission.
right,
And we
right,
wouldn't
right,
give
we
501
wouldn't.
mitigation.
Right.
We just said we wouldn't do it. And I
Right.
think we made that pretty clear to him. So I think it's consistent that we simply say, restore it. Put it back to the lawn. Now, I understand all his hardship, everything, the reason why he did, I understand. But what he needs to do is come up with a better plan of how it is he attenuates his flooding condition, his recurring flooding
Right.
condition, and bring it to us as a proposal. Not to include violating setbacks.
Okay, so the option is he can rip it out, all of the new concrete work that was in the area of lawn. I can cut back the sump pump and we can call it a day. Because that would take care of the violation in terms of within your 25-foot and your 50-foot.
And then there's the shed.
In the shed.
The shed historically has been there. If he's taken out everything that's within your setbacks, why can't he keep the shed if it's historically been there?
How historical?
Well,
This is
he-
before our bylaw?
I would have to look at that, but he said that the shed was there when he bought the home.
that doesn't make it, was a violation when he bought the house.
He's also lied to our faces.
Right, we can also, we can look, right? We can give us some historical.
Yeah,
We'll
you
see
get
if he's
back-
telling the truth.
No builds, what?
There isn't a
80
shed that
85-ish?
lasts 20 years.
The aerial photos, when you go back that far, they're not
Tell
good.
nothing.
They're not good.
No.
You can't get that kind of resolution. So we're not gonna be able to do forensic work by aerial photography, to prove it was there.
So based on
What
the
did you say
bylaws,
about
it's in
85 and no
violation.
build zone? What did you
In
just say?
1985,
You can't tell anything from there.
with our bylaw,
No,
when did our-
it was 1990,
90?
yes.
Yeah, I think it was 85 was when the bylaw went in place, and then we made the,
But the regulations were 1990.
Even 95. You're telling me this deck is
Okay,
30 years?
Okay, so
shed is
your
30 years old?
regulations were first
I got a
adopted
bridge you can buy.
February of
To Reed's
1992.
Ferry.
92.
Yeah, it's
you may be able to go back far
That's
to
what
get
I-
some fair resolution, to see if the shed was there. Because it predates that, it's worth a check.
She's good at that.
Okay, so if the shed predates 92, he can keep it, or the commission may consider allowing him to keep it in place. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
What's our rule there? Keep it but can't maintain it? Can't upgrade it or?
No, if it's pre-existing non-conforming, you can maintain that.
Okay.
You get some boards rotting, you replace the boards and make the shed that was falling down, make it still stand there, you can do all that.
About the floor.
What?
About the floor.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not holding much faith in finding that's allowed.
That's also on the applicant to prove that, not on Amy.
Right.
I can do some research. That's not a problem. Okay, so.
This is just like Oxford, and the reality is that everybody, life went on perfectly fine on that neighborhood until the guy wanted to put a deck on his house, and he comes before us and we say, what about your shed?
But that's not the first time.
But it happens everywhere.
I know.
You come in and
I
ask for
know.
one thing and you find out you got 15
I
other
know,
things wrong.
I
so-
know.
But what, if it is legitimately pre-existing non-conforming to our bylaw, then I'm willing to consider that.
Okay.
I'm not
So
only willing,
that's some
I would
forensic
say that it
research.
is pre-existing.
Okay,
If he can prove that it goes back that far,
Yep.
that location.
okay.
All right, so
And there was some issue that you all talked about outfall and whether it was there before, or is that?
That's good, that's good.
12-inch.
He had a
That's all
sump
right.
pump, yeah.
So you guys are good with that?
They cut the pipe, they put that special valve in.
So is that something we can cut and put it 10 feet off the foundation? Would the commission allow that? I just want to get the water away from the foundation.
How far
I
away
think
is
so.
yeah, like, I was thinking the same thing. You know, he put like a 2-foot apron along the side, would he be compliant then?
I think so. I mean, you're in the very outer reaches of the buffer. You're in the buffer, but you're like, here's the buffer zone, and there's the pipe. It's like 5 feet, or
I mean, you
if
can cut it
that.
on the other side.
Oh, I was talking about the other one.
Oh, the other, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I just,
Oh, okay, this one.
if the commission wants the concrete removed, we can do that, but I would like to possibly have an outlet for the sump pump. I mean, you need it, right?
Right.
In an area of lawn?
Yeah, are we just talking about supporting the bubbler
Yeah.
outfall right where?
Yeah.
I can support that,
Yeah,
That's what we want, we want it to go over some grass before it gets.
right.
In the 50.
Okay, so in terms of the work, is the commission going to want this done this fall?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
In,
that's my opinion. The reality is, you get into doing a disturbance this time of year, you're just gonna make a mess. You're gonna go through all winter with a mess. So, in fact, I would say we would not allow any work to take place until
Because it's very stable.
yeah, it's all lawn,
stable growth
it's
season,
mowable.
yeah.
And one last question. The
Completed
shed,
by second meeting in September, it's not started before May 1st.
okay. One of the commissioners suggested possibly relocating the shed outside the 25-foot. If I can't show or prove it predates 92. Can he keep it?
Regulation says it's gotta be outside the 50.
You said one of the commissioners said 25? None of us said that.
What is it?
Well, one of the commissioners,
I suggested that the proposed location for the play structure.
You just showed
She's
yourself
right,
in the
she's
foot.
right.
well, the problem is, you know, the house is within the 50-foot, and then outside the 50-foot, he has the pool area. He's running out of real estate. Everybody loves a shed. You gotta put your stuff somewhere. So if the commission would consider it,
Can't, I'm sorry, because everybody else wants to have that same thing in that same situation like he is. Some of us have been there before and haven't been able to get a shed.
it is the holiday season.
That's why we're not making him do it until next year.
I've seen that Hallmark movie and it ends badly.
So would you consider the shed outside the 25 with mitigation? But that's like,
Me
that's,
personally, I mean, it's, if they came in front of us and asked to do this, we wouldn't let them do it.
I don't know.
And everybody else is gonna come in front of us. And we can be
Okay.
consistent, in my opinion.
Why are we going over, the shed's in the 25,
Yeah.
get it out.
Get it on the
Period.
50, right.
Okay.
yeah.
This thing can just snowball, and I gotta be careful.
I'm just-
what-
Because she's a very
what
good
was there-
advocate. That's
What
the
was
problem
there?
here. She does, she
and
makes you
when
try
was
to
it?
Well,
Very
okay.
important.
bend and
The
bend.
gazebo,
Let's-
the pool, I mean, where do we begin and end? I mean,
Oh, I know.
so
I mean,
the reality is, the shed's obvious.
Yeah, Maureen, you gotta
it's right
stop
there.
bringing your violin.
Listen, if you don't ask, you don't know the answer, right?
that's true.
All right, the
How did we
shed,
find out about this? Neighbor?
Yes.
oh, they started with a generator.
Is that what it was?
Well,
They
they
came
did
for-
come first,
They came for.
Oh, I remember the generator,
Generator,
way back.
right,
They
and-
came
So
for a
That's right,
generator.
that's why he knew.
Yes, yes.
He couldn't do anything, that's why he
Right.
should have known.
right,
And he
Yeah.
did know,
That's
he
right.
just forgot.
yes.
Yeah,
I remember the smell, I remember the smell.
yeah,
In that same corner.
yep. You don't see.
Separation to the window, the gas company, I remember the whole.
Is there anything else we need to do on this one now? Okay.
Is this a continuance?
Well, if you have it, this is an enforcement order, and we have updated it by stating that it's gotta be in compliance. You can't start the work before May 1, it needs to be done by
Right.
September something.
Right.
Is there
second
anything
reading.
else that we wanna put in this?
Do we just straight up deny a waiver for the concrete patio and the The stuff that he wants, that he keeps asking for?
Do you get waivers with enforcement orders? I mean, this isn't a filing in front of us.
Well, it seems to be the contention of the commission, that that's where water's gotta go.
We want to notice of
It's a
intent in front of
defense
us.
to his
No,
violation.
just remove it. Okay.
But the water's gotta go.
Does the commission
Believe me,
want
I
the
was an
plan
advocate
updated?
to have him keep it.
What was that?
Do you want the plan updated?
Yeah.
Like a completion
So-
plan? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to show that
To
we're
show
gonna
what's
remove it
getting,
and
what's gonna get removed, where the drain's gonna go.
eliminate the mitigation, remove the shed.
Well, I mean, is the plan to just remove the hatched area and put the bubbler right
No.
where you have it? You just saw it cut
Yeah,
along
we
the
would like
line
to.
and-
Not the hatched area, all of it in the 50,
Yeah, I think you need something in front of us, so
You
we
need-
all know
All
what
of
we're
it in the
looking
50.
at.
yes.
But that rear concrete, that was there before, like from the
That
corner,
can
the back
stay.
corner of the
From
house.
corner of the house back
Yeah.
and stay.
It's, right, it was the same footprint.
So I think the patio from this corner of the house
Yep,
went straight.
yep, you're right.
So everything, if this is straight, everything over here.
Yep.
If he
Gotta
came
go.
to us, we would allow patio in this area.
Yeah, the patio, I know he enlarged it. It was
He enlarged
patio
it.
there. I remember
Yes,
it, I
but-
remember it, he made it
But
bigger.
keep it where
He
it
went
was
back.
because it went straight off the edge.
Yeah, just cut it from the house.
Yes,
straight back.
exactly. So, okay, update the plan to show that.
Okay,
Come back. All right, so we'll continue to the December 11th meeting with those plan updates.
So moved.
Second.
thank you.
Okay.
Discussion, can we ask them to get a letter from the DPW saying that they don't have a problem with the drain?
Yeah, they should, yeah, that's on them to do that, I think so.
Well, you said it was in the buffer.
It is,
Oh,
but they
We're talking
should,
about two different drains now. Aren't we? Or
Some of
you-
the
The one-
trench
the
drain that
trench-
connects, that presumably
Connects to-
allegedly connects.
to the,
Yeah.
the street,
I don't think
the
it does.
town drain pipe. So they should bring that to the DPW's attention. I don't think I should have to be their advocate for that.
I agree.
They need to go get their
Oh, I
approvals from
thought that they
DPW.
have-
Right,
Like
If
someone
they
else
have-
cut it in
yeah.
the pipe.
Yeah, see if there's a connection. If there's not, then
right. They might not even bother.
there might, there isn't, then it's good, but if there
right,
is.
right, right, right.
Okay, so we're all set now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Do we need a
Do you
motion?
want to
No.
stay for 113?
Oh, yeah.
Your own discussion now. You
Yeah.
should call a vote.
Yeah.
Can we,
Usually
why
you
don't
call
you
the
just
vote. Remember,
stay,
you-
and I'll
you
have
moved,
them
I
skip
second,
right
you
to
call
it.
discussion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All right,
I'm just having so much fun.
let's skip down to 113 Bridges
Bunch of
Lane,
business. What's that?
113 Bridges Lane,
Yep.
'cause she's, Maureen's here for that
This
as
one,
well.
too?
Yes.
Oh, this is SeaWorld.
This is a marathon night,
Enforcement order central.
right? All right. Okay, so Maureen provided a timeline for enforcement action and deadlines that we established for the homeowner to meet. The main deadline that tied the fines was delivery of the restoration plan, which he met. We approved it, he went ahead and he performed the restoration plan, but we never circled back to talk about the fines. The enforcement order did say that if this deadline is met, the commission would be willing to reconsider the fines. So, Maureen would like to have that discussion with you. Right now, they're at $6,000, which I stopped fining when I received the restoration plan electronically on April 27th, which was the deadline. She has provided a fall monitoring report.
The commission may recall, there was a number of structures out there, gravel, you know, he did a lot of disturbance within the 50-foot. Everything's restored, the plants are in, herbaceous layer is growing. I mean, overall, it looks pretty fantastic. In the springtime, I'd like him to reseed that slope along the driveway because the seed just didn't take. The commission wanted the mulch removed, the mulch was removed. But it certainly needs to be reseeded. We can do that next year. It's not a problem. But he was done this by August 23rd.
Yeah.
Really just wanted to get back in compliance and just would like to request the commission to waive the fines.
I think he's been pretty cooperative with what we've wanted, so I'd be in favor of that.
You know, the fine's intent is never to make money, it's always to ensure and to motivate compliance, and he almost didn't argue the whole way. And any delay was a healthy, constructive delay of getting the right answer. I'm okay with releasing all of it.
I want to go to Aruba.
It'll only get you there. You never coming back.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Nice place to get stuck in.
It would, yeah, it's not a bad gig. I'm fine with it. I know there's another year of monitoring. My question would be, do we want to wait that year and then make this determination?
The decision to issue the fine was just based on no response?
No.
No initial response?
It was, we're gonna fine you until we get, and hold it in abeyance until we get the restoration plan. And it wasn't tied to implementation of the plan, it was just receiving the plan, which we did on time. And that's all that the enforcement order spoke to for fines.
But he has implemented it, it's just.
He has, oh yeah. Which
we
was
don't
also
issue-
on time because we set a deadline for that.
We don't issue fines on everything. I mean, what caused us to go that route with this one? Do you remember?
The original violation was.
It was
pretty
pretty
substantial.
It was a
pretty
pretty
substantial.
So it was just that bad?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we had
Okay.
bridges
So
and.
then it seems like he's done that much
Usually
effort to
not.
make it good again, so I'm cool with
Wally
Yeah,
go ahead and waive it.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like we gotta worry. I was worried if he wasn't motivated to get help, then maybe we had to worry about seating next
think
season.
just
But It
the
sounds
opposite.
like
I
he's
think
ready
he-
to go.
Yeah, once he got on,
Yep.
it didn't take much convincing. I think he was at a loss of how to proceed. Once he got going, he kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm cool waiving it now.
So is there a motion?
I move that we waive the fines for $6,000 in light of the compliance and the expected continued compliance.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good holiday,
You
everyone.
too. You too.
Thanks.
Oh, gosh, okay. We'll,
What is 1101 Turnpike Street?
yeah, we'll,
But you're saying it was.
we'll, North Ramp Road has requested a continuance to, December 11th.
Oh, I didn't even put that.
I would say, let's take 129 Forest Street off the agenda because you guys gave them until 2025 to fix it. So there's no need for it to be on the agenda.
See, you just put that on there because we didn't have enough.
That's not on ours anyways.
Oh, really?
What is?
129 Forest Street?
Sure,
Really?
It's on there.
It's on here.
I just jumped over it.
So we need to continue 135 North Ramp Road?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not where the brush fire is, 129 Forest. That's down close, isn't it?
No, it was 900.
Was it way out?
I don't know.
Shot my shop in his pond.
All right.
And my son's been living out there for a week.
So continue North Ramp to December 12th,
December 11th, so moved.
December 11th, I'm sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All right.
14, 18, 30, 1101 Turnpike Street.
Okay, so this is a one-year extension request, issued it order issued in December of 2021, construction of a 8-bay truck storage pole barn, which is a 3-sided structure. They hadn't moved on the project, and they discovered recently that zoning setbacks needed relief from the ZBA, which they have gone through. They received that. They are gearing to start up the project later this month, so it's gonna expire in December, so
So is there any reason not to extend it?
I don't think so.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And
Don't we have another mass electric project
We
before us
just did.
tonight?
Just had one today.
Yeah, I know, we had a
Yes.
snafu.
Yep. We're gonna be
Okay,
doing
all
a
right.
decision on that.
All right.
They had an outstanding order that we didn't know.
5
that we
minutes.
didn't know.
Yikes.
All right, trail maintenance, Boston Hill, Brightview.
All right. Okay. All right, so I walked out there with a representative from New England Mountain Biking Association that wants to undertake these maintenance activities. There's 3 sections along the Boston Hill trail system that I confirmed are not in the buffer zone to a wetland, so it's all upland work. Section 1, there's some drainage repairs that they'd like to do, trench for water bars across the trail, and then build a boardwalk. The second section requires drainage repairs and rock armoring for erosion. And the third section is eroded significantly due to drainage issues, and they want to repair and improve the drainage uphill of the curve and restore this section of trail. So Brightview owns the property. Concom holds this conservation restriction. Paragraph 10 of the amended CR states that trail construction and maintenance needs additional approval by Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. So I have sent all this information to Natural Heritage, asked for them to review and, opine.
You know we have confirmed priority habitat up there, right?
Yes, that's why.
Okay.
And so, I feel comfortable that they're not gonna find this to be negative impact or a take. It's within existing trails, within the existing trails.
Well, my recollection back
But-
in the day, they were very, very careful. It was the dwarf frosted elfin.
Elfin, yeah,
elfin
but
butterfly.
this is not in the habitat of the,
I thought one or two.
this is
are
the
pretty
wooded,
darn close to it.
shaded.
It's right at the edge of
So
the.
you're
Well,
right at the edge
based
of
on
the
my
trail?
understanding of their habitat.
Edge
They're
of the-
everywhere.
edge of
What's
the
that?
tree line.
Northern longleaf bat.
Oh, is
It's
that
like
what it is?
No, that's,
So
they're
it's
just
right-
across
it's right
all
in
of
here.
Eastern Mass.
Oh,
Well, by the
okay,
antennas-
all right. I
Every
thought it was the
Parking,
elephant
this is
up
where you
here,
come up
though.
from. Brightview
Anyway.
building is here,
Yep.
right?
So,
Yeah, it's.
It's the old
So-
tree level, it used to be radar.
Right, right near the summit. It's right up here.
The resource, the priority habitat.
Yes.
It was the edge of the tree line.
Edge of the tree line up here.
I think it's right where that switchback is, okay. Anyway, you
Well-
submitted it to them.
I submitted to them, so I was just gonna recommend that you approve the work from your perspective, pending Natural Heritage review and blessing.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Stone clean for all, pretty much. Bring it up.
So, this is like a 13-acre parcel.
Really?
Who's by it?
All of us.
13-acre parcel that's vacant land. And it's in Chapter 61 to be removed, and it's currently under PNS with a developer for a 3-lot subdivision. But we have a first right of refusal. So we have the ability to decide whether we'd like to try to match what is in the PNS, which is
So Amy's gonna write it.
$1.1 million.
So Amy's gonna write a check for 1.2 million.
There's not really a lot of connectivity at all with this parcel. It's isolated. It's not really hitting much in terms of our goals and objectives of our open space plan. I don't believe there's a real appetite town-wide or administratively speaking to pursue this, but it, the Board of Selectmen looks for recommendations or inclinations from Concom and the Planning Board, so we wanted to get it on your agenda for at least discussion and.
What's your take, Morrison?
Seems like it's in between two neighborhoods, so it wouldn't be, like you said, it's not connected to anything, so it's best suited for residential.
Right.
Yeah, I think it has low conservation value.
I mean, it does have natural heritage, which they'll have to deal with, but.
Regardless of any
but-
future permitting activity, that would all apply anyway.
Yeah.
We don't lose anything
Right,
by not buying
Right.
this.
so.
Yeah, I think the process is that the selectmen probably want us to take a vote, and I think
Yeah.
at the end of this discussion, we do that, and then that vote would be to direct the administrator to issue a letter or memorandum to the selectmen stating what our action was tonight and the reasoning behind it. What's going on with it.
Can we develop it into 4 lots? We bought it, maybe? We got the inside track, we know some people in town, right? We can get that permitted.
It's called the Conservation Way.
I'm ready to take a pass on this one.
Everybody gets a shed, anywhere they want it.
Put concrete walks for me.
Yeah, 1.1 million, the value isn't there for this one, this is better use, it's residential.
Such a deal. All right, well, I think, how do I do this? A motion, a vote? What do you want to do?
Yeah, or,
You're the chairman.
I'll make a motion,
Okay.
I move that we have diligently considered the advantages and disadvantages of acquiring this property under the right of first refusal, and seeing no reason or any benefit from a conservation perspective to acquire it, that we vote to pass on this and not recommend the selectmen purchase it.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
And then we direct the agent to issue
issue a letter.
a memoranda to the selectmen to that extent of what our action was.
Okay, now comes the fun part. Decisions. 242-1894 Turnpike Street.
Condition 39, bond amount.
Is that enough? Is that enough, Joe? 10? Should the bond be 10?
Just a parking lot, detention area, right? It's just a parking lot in stormwater management area, right?
Yeah,
There's dig, there's
I mean, I don't
soil
know.
removal, and
Yeah, it's gonna be
there's a lot of soil
big
there.
cut, big cut. maybe it's overboard.
Yeah.
I think we should put it at 10.
Well, they,
The
how they set
construction,
our rates this year, so yeah, what the hell.
condition 43, the part C, the construction general permit is 2022, is the
Oh,
last version.
okay. Hee. I'll fix that. So, what, bonds, what do you guys feel? 10?
I think we need to have a statement very early on, maybe in the finding of fact, or shortly right after that, that this order condition is intended to stand on its own for the project submitted under the NOI, and that in no way does it alter the order conditions 242, 18, 30. Make that cross-reference,
Okay,
because it stands alone and we just gave it an extension.
yeah.
I didn't see the final, I know Amy said there was a lot of digging at this site. And there
Yeah.
was no potential water.
The greatest amount of excavation is in the wetland, detention area, so
Gravel
managed area,
wetland.
which is why
On-
we made them go up there and
Right.
do the test pits.
Right.
So we already know we know that they had to stay 2 feet above that,
Okay,
so we know that they're not getting down that far.
Right.
okay.
But it's noted that condition 60 isn't your ideal dewatering condition.
No, noticed that.
I know,
I saw it.
but,
Just, I don't like just in case. If everybody's all set, take a motion.
Were there any amendments while I was out?
yeah.
Bond, we changed the bond.
Changed the bond and we had, put a preamble in that this order is specific to the NOI file for this project, and that it in no way alters the one that we just extended, citing that order, the other order that
I move that we issue the order of conditions for 1101 Turnpike Street, DEP file number 2421894, as drafted and amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous. We'll get this one done in 2 minutes.
Name that tune. Name that tune.
Ain't that it?
All right, Liberty Street. So I'll fill in on page 2, I'll fill in the vote that you took for
waiver?
granting the waiver and the rationale. Condition 40 is the bond. I don't know if that's too much.
Looks
a little high, but this is an after the fact, right?
Yeah, I mean.
I
maybe-
think 5 is right.
Okay.
So the record drawing still has some confusion. We clarified it during testimony regarding erosion controls and the compost.
Oh,
stock.
right.
So we gotta
right,
clean up
yes.
the language
Yeah,
in
let
here.
me- Yep, okay. No EC in wetland. That's what we decided.
That the existing erosion control remain in place until just prior to this request for certificate of compliance.
Yep. Night, Jamie.
Night, James.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
No, I must be slipping, Jack. I missed another one. Dewatering. How
What?
come we didn't put a dewatering plant on Liberty Street?
There's no place to put it. Oh, that's not a good reason?
He doesn't even have to,
Yes.
oh, he does have to dig for the garage.
We can't change it now, right?
What?
The dewatering, if applicable.
Didn't we put something
Well,
in there?
yes,
do
we
whatever
can.
you want.
We can?
Yeah, we haven't,
I have to look at the
Yeah, we
plan.
can.
They're digging for garage, they're digging a foundation. Louis Street's water table's gotta be there.
Well, 50, prior to, no, 50 says prior to scheduling a pre-construction meeting, excavation dewatering means and methods shall be provided to the Conservation Department for review and approval. All dewatering BMPs shall be on site and installed by the time of the pre-construction.
That is a good one.
That's
I mean,
50.
short of showing on
boilerplate
the
language
drawing,
right there.
Right,
does make it pre-construction, right?
yeah.
Which we have these things.
50.
Okay, so you're gonna designate a dewatering
Yeah,
to be installed?
She will take
yes,
care of that.
that's what
Okay.
this is saying.
Yep.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Right, it is required.
So you didn't mess it, Rob.
Nope.
Huh?
You didn't miss it.
Robust dewatering.
No,
system.
I did, when it started out, if dewatering,
No, this is, the monitor has to, just saying that, you know, it's gonna be set up, and if it's utilized, then the monitor has to supervise it.
Yep.
That's all it's really saying.
Condition 60 speaks of phasing. Are there deliberate phases?
Well, I mean,
I guess they got the garage.
there's the garage and work for that, and then there's,
Are you
The
asking for a
septic
phasing plan as
system.
part of pre-construction?
no, I'm just saying that as each phase comes up,
Okay.
or, you know, because I don't know
they gotta work their
what they're
way out
gonna,
the driveway.
yeah, they kind of have to do that, so.
They
I'm
gotta
sure
do
they'll
it
do
anyway.
all the back, the rear stuff first, then do the garage, and then do the septic as they go out.
So there's a
they're-
pre-construction and then separate pre-construction
Yes.
meetings for each phase?
Yes.
Each aspect of
Yes.
the project?
Yep,
So you'll spell that out on the first pre-construction meeting?
yes.
Okay.
Yep, 60, right.
I'm glad you highlighted 65.
Yeah, strike the important. It's like,
Oh.
don't worry about any of the other conditions. This one's real important.
I know, it's silly, isn't it? Well, I inherited that, you know. Which one is that?
65.
65?
Any more questions? Motion.
I move that we grant the order of conditions for 242-1902-82 Liberty Street, I believe, as drafted.
Yep, no changes. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
That's so fast there.